You can bear with me. Sister Tania does a lot of the heavy lifting as far as setting up our meeting. So give me a second. Let me see. Mass meeting. Yeah. So according to our agenda, let me turn my camera on so y'all can see me. According to our agenda that I sent out, hopefully everyone got it in their email. First thing we're going to do is an official welcome. So it's 5:12 p.m., September 24th, 2023. So I just want to officially welcome everyone to UNIA-ACL Division 421 mass meeting. First thing that we'll do to get things going is pledge to the UNIA flag. So I'll pull that up. For those that know, say it along with me. For those that do not know, this is an opportunity to learn. So if you would, please say this along with me for those that know it. I commit my body, mind, and spirit to the protection, defense, and security of the red, black, and green. I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa and the liberation of her scattered Black children. I accept for myself and my descendants the teachings of universal African nationalism, and I promise that our children will be instilled with the purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people, in order that the cause of our struggle will neither falter nor fail until all Black people are free and united through one God, one aim, and one destiny. So that is the official pledge to the UNIA flag, created by Marcus Garvey and our ancestors. But we have to, we've been indoctrinated with the United States Pledge of Allegiance. We should have a Pledge of Allegiance of our own, a way to confirm and reaffirm our allegiance to our own people. And that is why we every week, every time we come here, we start off with the pledge to the UNIA flag, and officers should commit that to memory. Next thing we've got is roll call. So I'll briefly go through the roll. Starting with myself, Brother John, President. We also have on our executive office, Baba James, head of our African Legion. Have Attorney Imhotep, Counsel General of the UNIA. We have President Ross Marvin, as our treasurer. And we have we have two other. Brother Art, our recording secretary. And we have Sister Diane, our education coordinator and lady vice president in training. In addition to our officers, we have Dr. Shams calling in out of Brooklyn, New York. We have Brother Maurice Johnson. We'll give him a chance to introduce himself, as well as Mr. Malik. And we have one of our newer members that joined at Marcus Garvey Day this past year, Sister Jocelyn. So total as of right now, we have 12 members on the call. Let's see. Okay, that's roll call. What's next? Ground rules is next. So let me go over our ground rules. I just had the email and I lost it.
Yep, President John, Aziza is also on the call.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Imhotep. Sister Aziza, that brings us to 13. And Sister Aziza is part of our membership department. I did send Sister Aziza an email. I know she'd been asking me about a list of active members. I don't know if I sent that out yesterday or today. I've been kind of probably was today, but if there's any additional information or anything that we need, please have her let me know, and I'll get that to her as soon as I can.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ground rules. Ground rules of the meetings. This conference call guidelines. This meeting is divided into, it's really 3 halves, but we'll say 2 halves. First half, we focus on a topic related to the organization. Afterwards, we give members a chance to comment or ask questions over the topic. During this phase of the meeting, focus solely on the subject with your questions and comments. You will have a chance to talk about whatever you like during our second half. Second half is member share. Everyone will have 3 to 4 minutes to speak, to share on a topic of their choice. Number 2, be considerate. Please do not go over your time when you have the floor. We want everyone to have a chance to express his or herself. You speaking over time can affect how long the other members have. If you have something important to share that takes longer than 5 minutes, you can request a presentation between 15 minutes and 1 hour. Administration department will approve your subject, and you'll have a chance to share that with the body. Number 4, to ensure we can hear all speakers, keep your phone mute when you're not speaking. Use your mute. Okay, just keep your phone on mute when you're not speaking. Number 5, have a pen and paper available, or you can use your phone to take notes, save member contact information, or make a list of things you would like to comment or ask questions about when it's your turn to speak. Number 6, there will be people on this call with different ideas, religions, and opinions than your own. It's okay to disagree, but we must not become disrespectful and nasty towards one another. Sometimes we have to agree to disagree. Number 7, ladies, do not give out your personal contact numbers during the conference call. Instead, give out your business number or email. We monitor our calls to the best of our ability, but we do have limitations. So we just keep our sisters' information private. And lastly, do not use the N-word during the call. Also be mindful of unnecessary using and overusage of curse words. Remember, there are children that tune in to the call. And we used to have one that the last one was have fun, but this is a meeting. We model these as government meetings, as productive meetings. There is a level of, we want to have a level of seriousness. This is a model that Marcus Garvey left behind, so we do want to honor and respect his memory and his legacy as we come to these meetings, but we also want to have a good time at the same time. And then there is some familial aspects to these meetings and gatherings as well. So it's a balance of business and fun at this, trying to have a little bit of fun at the same time. Okay, so that takes care of those items. Let me see what else we got on the agenda. So that leads us to what I've got here is, see, the next thing that I have on the agenda is one of Marcus Garvey's speeches titled Traitors. Speech by Marcus Garvey. So if are there any questions, comments, or concerns before I go into this reading? It should take 15 minutes or so. Okay. Find it. Ooh. The first one. Okay, page 29 is in the first one. There's a reason why I'm going over this. We'll look at some of the things that we've discussed throughout the year, but I'm going somewhere with this reading. So I'll stop sharing. So this is coming from Philosophies and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, Volume 1, page 29. 1 second, let me get our Lady President in. Race first, Lady President.
Race first, family.
Making you co-host so you can admit people into the room as I'm reading, because I'm probably not going to be looking. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So as I said, title of this lecture is Traitors, from Philosophies and Opinions, Volume 1, compiled by Amy Jocks Garvey. These are lectures provided or given by Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. So, traitors. In the fight to reach the top, the oppressed have always been encumbered by the traitors of their own race, made up of those of little faith and those who are generally susceptible to bribery for the selling out of the rights of their own people. As Negroes, we are not entirely free of such an encumbrance. To be outspoken, I believe we are more encumbered in this way than any other race in the world because of the lack of training and preparation for fitting us for the place in the world among nations and races. The traitor of other races is generally confined to the mediocre or irresponsible individual. But unfortunately, the traitors among the Negro race generally to be found among the men highest placed in education and society, the fellows who call themselves leaders. For us to examine ourselves thoroughly as a people, we will find that we have more traitors than leaders, because nearly everyone who essays to lead the race at this time does so by first establishing himself as the pet of some philanthropist of another race, to whom he will go and debase his race in the worst form, humiliate his own manhood, and thereby win the sympathy of the great benefactor, who will dictate to him what he should do in the leadership of the Negro race. It is generally, you must go out and teach your people to be meek and humble. Tell them to be good servants, loyal and obedient to their masters. If you will teach them such a doctrine, you can always depend on me to give you $1,000 or $5,000 a year for the support of yourself, the newspaper, or the institution you represent. I will always recommend you to my friends as a good fellow who is all right. With this advice and prospect of patronage, the average Negro leader goes out to lead the unfortunate mass. These leaders tell us how good Mr. So-and-so is, how many good friends we have in the opposite race, and that if we leave everything to them, all will work out well. This is the kind of leadership we have been having for the last 50 years. It is nothing else but treachery and treason of the worst kind. The man who will compromise the attitude of his country is a traitor. And even so, the man who will compromise the rights of his race can be classified in no other way than that of a traitor also. Not until we settle down as 400 million people and let the men who have placed themselves in the lead of us realize that we are disgusted and dissatisfied and that we shall have a leadership our own and stick to it when we get it, we will be able to lift ourselves from this mire of degradation to the heights of prosperity, human liberty, and human appreciation. It's a brief essay, but a constant reminder, and it's something that we tend to run into repeatedly throughout the year. And I don't think it's something that's really going to go away. So that's why we continue to talk about it, continue to discuss it, and to continue to make sure we are aware of these concerns and Garvey's opinion that, we as a race have more traitors than leaders, and we have more traitors than, other races. But before I continue, just wanted to get any feedback on what anyone thought about that and the relevancy of that lesson today.
So,
Mr. Diane, you came off mute.
yes. So, if we look at what's going on the African continent right now, the message is like the younger kids are kind of waking up, so to speak, and the message is we're going to take care of the sellouts, and basically they're going to take care of the sellouts and the folks who are perpetuating the sellouts. But in their case, it's kind of a forced, not to make any excuse. In their case, it was kind of forced because the folks that were not sellouts, the folks, it's a complicated scenario in that there are some that are genuinely playing that role because of fear, and there are some that are playing that role to the detriment of their people because of greed. In some instance, like when you think of after the Berlin Conference, and you think of King Leopold's entering into the Congo, they actually had a group of people that were forced to work against their people because they were chopping off hands and feet and murdering people. And they're, in fact, one of the group was called the Force Publique. It was like their little army of black sellouts who was representing them, who was chopping off the hands of people who didn't produce rubber and all this stuff. So sometimes it's force, sometimes like France, they'll kill people as example, that if you stand for your people, you're going to become an example. We're going to take you out. And so I don't want to sound long-winded, but in some instance it's forced. And in some instance, people are just greedy. And in some instance, not only do you have to let the folks that are funding these people know that you're not going to tolerate the nonsense, but you also have to get rid of the puppet to show example that you're not going to tolerate puppets. So it's kind of tricky. Or else today we still wouldn't have puppets. I know it's probably a different scenario in the US than on the African continent, but maybe in some ways they're similar. So yeah, I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of what's going in my head when talking about traitors and sellouts and puppets.
That's valid. It was an open question. I never know where it will go, but I trust our people to make sure that it's relevant to us, and I think you did a great job. It was one of the things that I had to mention later, but it reminds me, does everybody know what's going on? The global meeting that's taking place at this time?
I raised my hand, Dr. Roots.
Go ahead, Dr. Roots.
Yes, I think that was addressed the speech about sellout. As someone born on the African continent, lived in America for 22 years, talking about neo-colonization. Unfortunately, neo-colonization project in Africa, it is sponsored by the Black Congressional Caucus here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
For example, 3 scenarios that we give. We'll talk about sellout. Zimbabwe, at the end of the struggle for liberation in Zimbabwe, they had the Lancaster House Agreement, 1971, and 1999 and 1981, actually. And this agreement calls for the redistribution of land. The EU, the United States, they agreed to purchase the land from the white farmers and redistribute the land to the Black farmers. What happened? After 10 years, they didn't do it. You know, the Europeans, they are extremely arrogant. They never keep that promise to Africans. 20 years, they didn't do it. Comrade Mugabe approached that board, that bastard Tony Blair, and it dismissed him. When he decided to take matters into his own hand, the US Congress voted to sanction Zimbabwe together with the Black Congressional Caucus. I remember, I spoke with some of them, they dismissed me and they said, oh, Mugabe is corrupt because the man, what the fake news media said, the CNN, NBC, or CIA psychological war operation machines. Case number 1. Second case, Barack Obama, a son of a Kenyan immigrant, took on Gaddafi, murdered Gaddafi in the open, took instructions for that murderer Hillary Clinton, murdered Gaddafi in the open. In the rules of war, the Geneva Convention says that when you arrest someone on the battlefield, you treat the person immediately. We all saw on TV, Gaddafi was arrested and murdered, and Hillary Clinton that very evening on CBS News, he said, we came, we saw, and he died. The entire was Susan Rice, a Black woman. You know, the entire group, Linda Grayfield, a Black woman, they all supported it. The entire Democrats supported it. And as a result of what they did, the entire Sahel region of Africa today is on fire. Over millions of our brothers have died as a result. They created terrorists in Niger. They created terrorists in Burkina Faso. They created terrorists in Mali, and they put in what they call G4 European terrorist group. They have all of this relevant surveillance machine. It's a desert. They have drones flying overhead. They have satellites flying overhead. They see the terrorists. 10 years, nothing happening. And our brothers to matters in our own hand. Today in Niger, the Biden administration is working on a hand with my own country, Liberia, to undermine and to invade Niger. Because of pressure and election next year, they want the Black votes. They are working through ECOWAS, they are puppets, and France are trying to undermine Niger. Today, Niger hosts the biggest analysis drone base in Africa. We don't need drone base in Africa. We need infrastructure development. We need a technology transfer. We don't need military bases there. So I'm creating this awareness. So our brothers here, Black Americans, should understand that you will never be respected here until Africa is free. Africa is your home. Just as the Jews advocate for Israel, I urge Black Americans, those in the Congressional Caucus, to advocate for Africa, not to sanction an African country, rather behave like the Jews. They advocate for Israel. They don't advocate against Israel. You know, terror in America. Why is it that when a Black man kills another Black man, there's no protest? The only protest when a Black man kills, when a policeman kills a Black man, then we protest. So when I sit here, after living here 22 years and sit, what happened? It's twofold. In Africa is new colonization. In America, I call it social engineering. They have completely social engineered majority of the Black population in this country. I consider the Democratic Party as the last post of what I call slavery in this country, because all of their policies are against Black people, yet we vote for them. So I think we are our own enemies. It's about time. It's African Renaissance for us to rise up and let the people know that we are not stupid. We know there are little games and shenanigans that they play with us, putting us against each other and have these puppets representing us, claiming to be Black leaders in the country. They don't represent us. When I consider Louis Farrakhan as an authentic Black leaders in this country. But Many of the people who come on TV, they're not Black leaders, especially those that sit on CNN, NBC. They don't represent our interest. They represent one agenda, LGBTQ agenda, not our agenda. So I think we will have a lot of work to do to educate ourselves about what's happening on the motherland and what is happening here, and to fight the struggle. The struggle has just begun. We need to liberate Africa. When Africa is free, you are free. You have a home. And that's what we're doing with the African Radicalism movement in Africa. We are enlightening our people. We are educating them. At the same time, we are challenging the status quo here, the deep state. So that's a very good speech. We need to expose the enemies around us, amongst us, those who take money for George Soros, pretending to be representing African interests. All of these human rights organizations, they are all part of the intelligence operations in Africa. That's a very good speech, and I want to admonish my African American brothers here. We are all one people. We need to work together, hands in hands, to prevent the Biden administration from creating another Libya scenario in Niger. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roots. You seconded what Sister Diane was speaking on in regards to the situation on the continent, and that's kind of where I was going to an extent. But again, I'm going to ask the floor again. Does anybody know the large global gathering taking place right now? No one.
Raise first.
Raise first, Dr. Shams.
Yes, are you talking about BRICS?
No, it's in relation to BRICS, but it's more general. It's more general than BRICS.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the people in the diaspora, went up against even their own military to turn things around so that we have better life, calling ourselves African and not needing the Caucasian. I call them Caucasian deliberately because I feel that takes away their power and it gives them back some of what they did to us, by the smallest means possible. So I use the word Caucasian. Never want to use any other word for them. But yeah, that's what's happening. The people are rising up. The people's eyes are awakening because of what's happening to them and what's happening to us here. And the Pan-African movement is bringing us all together as righteous brothers and sisters fighting for the same cause. And they are learning not to fight each other. They are learning that when they fight each other, they do so to the upliftment of the Caucasian, and they downgrade themselves. So everything is becoming better over there and over here. Well, I can't say, well, among many other people, yes, but we still have problems. We always have problems. And it looked like soon, not later, but sooner than later, we will be able to solve those problems. Peace and race first.
Race first. Thank you, Dr. Shams. Anyone else have a comment?
Is it something pertaining to the United Nations?
Yes. Yes, Sister Diane, thank you. That was my general question, and making sure we are aware. We are a global government. We are, not confined, but our jurisdiction as a division is limited to Atlanta and Georgia. However, our level of awareness is not limited to just Atlanta and Georgia. And I wanted to make sure everyone is aware of what's going on. I don't have details. I'll look into it more, and maybe I'll have some more details at the next meeting, but I have seen some excerpts of some of the African nations speaking about their proposed liberation from France. So we were just talking about some of the uprisings on the continent, but I want people, we should be aware of geopolitical issues, and when certain things happen, they can be a level of surprise as to, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it had gone that far. but we should at least be aware of what our brothers and sisters are speaking their intentions to. The UN, although we as the UNIA have kind of, well, we not condemned, but we said in our Declaration of the Rights of Negro Peoples of the World, we said that the League of Nations, which predated the United Nations, was null and void. But in today's time, we don't have an official position on the United Nations, but our brothers and sisters still go through that process. And it reminds me of, I've been doing had seen some updates recently of Patrice Lumumba in the Congo. And it was some comments that he had made at United Nations, basically the same thing that our brothers and sisters are saying now in regards to going away from colonialism. And then later on, he was eventually assassinated. So I'm just trying to make sure that we're aware of what's going on, aware of our brothers and sisters' positions, so that when things happen, we're not completely surprised and thrown off guard. But I don't have anything in detail at this point, just a reminder for us to stay updated as to what our African nations are saying in the United Nations.
So the role that the United Nations is playing there, it's kind of like a joke, because it's showing that they're the ones funding terrorism in some of these areas, Boko Haram or whatever you call it. And they've been in certain areas for years, supposedly playing a role of peacekeepers, that they're supposed to be playing. But instead of doing that, they're basically funding, arming these terrorists and creating just situations where they can loot the resources of the continent under the pretense of being there to secure peace. And then in some areas, they've been there for years, like take the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that there's been so much suffering in the Congo since the days of King Leopold, and not much has changed. You still hear, like not long ago, there was some crazy madness where like 40 Congolese people were killed, supposedly by terrorists. So when is that going to end? And what are they doing there for 20 some odd years? I mean, these supposed to be the peacekeeping people from all the European nations and stuff. And they're there and you basically they're looting. So they need to go, and Africa needs to establish, something better than what exists today. The African Union seems useless. ECOWAS seems useless. It's I don't know. It's not something we can solve on one call, obviously, but
Yes.
The United Nations is really it's they just leave a bad taste in your mouth, because they're really not uniting any nations. All they're doing is unitedly aiding themselves to the resources of the African continent. That's what they're doing. That's what they're united in. They're not united in being the peacekeepers of the planet. So it's kind of a joke, but whatever, They'll play their role until we do something better.
Understand. Let me read some of one of the articles that came out. So, as we're talking about African nations giving reports on the United Nations, this is a report from Sudan discussing their civil war or internal war. In his speech to the annual general debate of the UN General Assembly, Mr. Al Burhan, who is the president of the Transitional Sovereign Council, said the Sudanese people have been facing a devastating war since April 15th, launched against them by the Rapid Support Forces. But these are both Sudanese militaries. describing those paramilitary forces as rebels in alliance with tribal, regional, and international militias and mercenaries from different parts of the world. He said they had been committing horrendous crimes against Sudanese people. Further, he said, quote, they attempted to obliterate the history of Sudanese people by destroying museums, court, and civil registries. They had released terrorists and people wanted by international courts from prison. Wait a minute, this is not what well, yeah, I'll end here. They have killed, looted, raped, robbed, and seized citizens' homes and properties and destroyed infrastructure and government buildings. This is just from Sudan, but we just have to be aware of what's going on. I don't have enough information to necessarily say which side is preferred or which side is quote unquote right or wrong. But at the very least, we should be aware of what's going on. But this is what I wanted to introduce in regards to traders, but it was leading up to something more local for us here in Atlanta. So let me stop sharing for a second. Any questions, comments?
The biggest problem, I think, right now is France, because they're still colonizing like 14 African nations. And Niger just, did a coup, overdue coup, but they're basically reclaiming their right to their resources and their country. But that's the main thing, just getting France off the African continent and whoever else wants to play the role of France.
Yes, and we definitely support that. France is just another colonizer nation out of Europe. So yes, we definitely support that. But where I was going is trying to bring things locally. Let me share this here. We had a meeting several months back. Does anybody remember where this picture came from or what's in this picture? What was happening in this picture?
Yeah, that's the Memphis Police Department. I think there's a Scorpion. I believe there was a Scorpion spot, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember what the unit name was, but you're absolutely right. What was it? You remember the brother's name?
Tyree Nichols, I believe. Tyree Nichols.
Absolutely. So if somebody could look that up and tell me exactly when that happened, that'll give me an idea of when we discussed this. But trying to bring this full circle, bring it back home. We had just talked about this a couple months back, and now I'm bringing it up in the concept of traders. Some people have got their hands up. Attorney Imhotep.
Yeah, yes, thank you. I had a comment about the war in the Sudan.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there's some dynamics there that are very, very important. This rapid support force, these are the Arabs there.
Okay.
Correct.
And the brother general of the army, that's the African, black African there in Sudan.
Okay.
This war in the Sudan is which spilled over into Darfur, where the Arab militias are killing. The genocide is starting all over again 10 years later. The Arabs are killing the dark complexion Sudanese, murdering them, genocide. And the thing is, these dark complexion Africans are Muslims, and the Arabs are so it has nothing to do with your religion. That if you were professed to be a Muslim, we wouldn't kill you. They're killing them because they're not Arabs. They're being killed, some of them, in mosque. It's a genocide. So this war there in the Sudan, this brother here, that's the African, as they go, the African general. And the conflict then is between the African and the Arabs. And it doesn't, they're both Muslims.
Are the Arabs at this point, are we talking about Sudanese still, or are we talking about outside Arabs?
Well, no, they're Sudanese Arabs. They've told him, I have a quote here, what happened in Darfur. They told the native people there, the Arabs, he said, quote, all slaves must stand up, and if you want to leave Sudan, because Sudan is for Arabs. One victim recounted his tormentor saying, we started running and the armed men were shooting at us, at people at random. Everywhere I looked, I saw death. Several other similar accounts were compiled by that's the Doctors Without Borders. They're sent to reporters, and this was on August the 9th. So that's the big deal, big time, what's happening in the Sudan. The Africans are fighting the Arabs.
Okay. Thank you for that level of understanding. That helps me, but it's just so much going on the continent as well as domestically. It's hard to keep up, but thank you, Attorney General or Counsel General, for that insight. So the Sudan is Arab versus African, and then in the other nations, it's primarily African. Well, I guess it's Africans trying to get away from French rule.
May I say something?
Go ahead. Well, I think there was someone else had their hand up. Oh, that's you, Dr. Roots.
Yes, that's me. Look, gentlemen, brothers, I want to thank you very much for your insight, but it's deeper than that. Everything traces back to Washington, D.C., okay? The French will never work in Africa without the backing of Washington, D.C. Everything is being programmed by what Americans call a deep state imperialism. Everything in Africa is controlled by Washington. France operates with the knowledge of Africa. Let me tell you, Sudan, what's going on in Sudan? What is going on in Sudan is actually plain and simple. The port of Sudan, the Red Sea port, they signed a deal with Russia for the Russian government to build the port and have a naval station there. Victoria Lunen, that death injured, went to Sudan and threatened the military leader in charge and told them not to work with Russia. When they refused, they went through the Arabs, terrorists, they funded them, and they unleashed them on the Sudanese government. That's the source of the war going on in Sudan. The same as the war taking place in the Sahel region of Africa, in Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Mali. These three countries, and Algeria, nothing Algeria and nothing Nigeria, all trace back to Washington, D.C. It is part of the program used to keep Africa in great subjugation. Okay, so Gaddafi was a man blocking them, and they used Barack to destroy him. The media you have in this country, don't listen to them. Please do not get a source of information or serious any of the so-called mainstream media. I wrote a book on masking fake news. Please read my book. I don't do 9 to 5. I work for myself in this country. So I have plenty of time in my hand to analyze the news. I went to the walls of most of their so-called institutions are called where they brainwash people. Everything traces back to Washington. They have the lobby there, the corporations, they lobby on their behalf. Again, if we want to really serious about liberating Africa, we have to lobby like Congressional Congress, make them understand that they are working against their own interests here. And they use the media to deceive the people and tell them that, look, this is happening this way. They give one thing, just 5% of the media is true. The rest is all lies and fabrications. I have monitored the Western media for a very, very long time. Everything about Africa, 5% to the rest is lies. So when you see these conflicts taking place in Africa, look at the other thing. Why is it that Africa got all the natural resources that Africa is poor like that? Why? Simply because all of these leaders in Africa that they went to school in the West, it is a program, all the Fulbright scholarship, the Dark scholarship. It is a program. You come here, they program you, and they send you back to Africa to work in their interest. When you're done, they malign you, they call you a dictator, they destroy your image in the Western media, then the next thing they overthrow you. So when you see the human rights report for Africa, it's not actually a human rights report, it is an intelligence operation on behalf of the CIA. All of these human rights organizations, it is the outpost in Africa. That's why they never report anything positive by the government. You know, here in America, when you receive money from a foreign country, you have to report to the government, and you have to state the reason why you receive the money from overseas. Otherwise, they call you foreign agent. Yep. In Africa, that's not the case. All of these agents, organizations are supported by the National Democratic Institute, this institute, everything intended to paint a negative picture of those places so that they can use it as a pressure to pressure the government. Okay, look, we have this report on you. You have to do X cooperation. That's why Africa is like that. The leaders that those guys are leading Africa, many of them, they are agents of the colonial master. Africa is not yet free. All of those leaders, majority of them, they are working for Washington, the Western interest. So today, when you see Africa today, most of those leaders, they revolted against the West. They went to Russia. They had the meetings with the Russian African conference. They have at the UN, this CAC, they form an alliance against the West. They are pushing back against the West, but it is not easy. We need your help here. We need to lobby our brothers in the Congress because they've been used against their own interest in Africa. You know, I was one of those. If I was a fool, I would be the president of Liberia today working for George Soros. I met him many times. What we have is a puppet. He's working for them. That's why Liberia has not signed the Free Continental Trade Zone. Liberia is one of the countries that are being used by them to go to Niger. The president of Liberia was caught here, straight to Lene, CIA headquarters. From there, they send him back to Liberia to do that dirty work. That's how they operate. The deep state operate in Africa. Everything on the continent is gone. The deep state, they are. In Ethiopia, they try to overthrow the government there. We step in, we protest against them here, and they stop. So they are behind the scene, Washington, deep state. Those who believe in American exceptionalism, they are behind it. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not in isolation. Washington is the key part of the neo-colonial machine suppressing Africa. Let's pressure them here, particularly beginning with our brothers in the Democratic Party. They are the key so-called humanitarian interventionists. They are not interventionists. They are working on behalf of those corporations that are currently exploiting our people in Africa. I submit.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Roots. Lady President, I think you had your hand up.
I did. Greetings, family. As you were talking on the subject about Blacks and Arabs and stuff like that, it took me to a time when I was attending Miles College, and I was taking honors African American literature. And when I was studying, we studied about the time of Mansa Musa. And Mansa Musa, and it brought me to this article right here because I couldn't think of the name that when the Arabs came to the Sudan, they gave Black people a name, and I found it. They called them Bilad al-Sudan, which is the land of the blacks. I have this article right here that I really want to share with you all that's pertaining to this subject. It's from wilsoncenter.org, Africa Up Close.
You want me to pull it up?
Okay. You can.
Wilsoncenter.org.
I can send you. Yeah, I'm gonna send you the. I just send it for everybody. They can pull it up. I'm sending it to you. Thing.
You on your computer?
Yes.
You can share if you want, or you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You should have authority.
Okay. Let me just read from this part, because this part just talks about how he was a black man coming up in the United States, and he's too familiar. I'll just read from the beginning. Growing up as a black man in the United States, I am all too familiar with how racism shows up in our society today, from slavery and Jim Crow laws of the past to police brutality and mass incarceration in the present. American racism is well documented. However, a fact that tends to be overlooked is that anti-blackness is a global phenomenon present in many countries. One such country is Sudan. Though I've grown up in the United States, my family always made sure I was in touch with my relatives overseas. And I've grown to love the country my parents were born in. However, I grew old and participated in discussions with other Sudanese. I began to recognize that Sudan has its own battles when it comes to prejudice, showing up in the form of mass internalized anti-blackness. Inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement happening around me in the United States, I decided to explore the issues of colorism that have developed in Sudan over many generations. Sudan, the ancient land of the Kushite and Nubian civilizations, is situated in the northeast of Africa and has a long history of cultural ties to the nearby Arabian Peninsula, including a history of Arab influence that impacted Sudan's national identity. Ramen. Am I saying that correctly right here? Raman. Okay, we're gonna keep going. When Arabs arrived in the area in the 7th century, they called it Balad al-Sudan, which is Arabic for land of the blacks. The Nubians had Africoid facial features, and their skin color ranged from jet black to various shades of dark and medium brown. These racial characteristics are still the reality for Sudanese people today. The gradual Arab intermixture with the indigenous Black Sudanese has not substantially altered their appearance. Now, despite the fact there are a few Sudanese who are relatively light-skinned, the majority are dark-skinned. This begs the question, how could there be anti-Blackness in a country where everyone looks the same? How is it bad to be Black in a country literally named Land of the Blacks? How is there anti-Blackness when everyone's Black? To understand Sudan's identity crisis, it's important to have a general knowledge of Sudan's political history and how events of the past century have affected the country. In the 20th century, North and South Sudan were ruled as a single country under a joint colonial relationship between the United Kingdom and Egypt. This period of colonial rule forced the Sudanese people to see themselves as a unified nation, whereas previously they had been living in a self-governing tribes. British colonial policies favored a narrow elite group from within Arab communities who were largely Muslim and Arab speaking. As a result, ever since Sudan's independence in 1956, the Northern Arabs, quote unquote, have been country's ruling elite. An attempt to build a strong Sudanese national identity was undertaken, and certain customs came to represent a unified idea of Sudanese culture, informed by Islam and certain aspects of traditional traditional tribal culture. Much of Sudan's legislation became based on Muslims' Sharia law in 1989, occurring as a part of a wave of quote unquote public morality that, for example, required women to wear modest clothing regardless of their religious beliefs. The Sudanese government also promoted a policy called Tahrir or Arabization that sought to make Arabic the standard language across the country. It's pretty lengthy, y'all, but I'll keep going. I don't have nothing but two more. The vision of the national identity did not resonate with the tribes of Southern Sudan. In contrast to their northern counterparts, most of Southern Sudan's tribes were of African heritage, and the majority of them were Christian.
You did not even call.
What said Dr. Roots?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. The vision of the national identity did not resonate with the tribes of Southern Sudan. In contrast, their northern counterparts, most of Southern Sudan's tribes were of African heritage, and the majority of them were Christian. However, Sudanese laws implied an inferior status of the non-Muslim, non-Arab population. Thus, Southern Sudan's African identifying citizens were religiously and politically marginalized and suffered discrimination due to their skin color. This is because Southern Sudanese came from a region that had long been a source of slaves. In fact, Khartoum, the current capital of North Sudan, was founded as a marketplace for slave trading. And in the second half of the 19th century, about 2/3 of the city's population was enslaved. Sudan became one of the most active slave raiding zones in Africa, with slaves transported from the south to the north, including Egypt, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean. To this day, the association of darker skin with slavery prevails throughout Sudan. The practice of slavery in Sudan was abolished by the British administration in 1924. However, many of the men and their families who strongly opposed this decision, who continued to wield enormous influence in Sudan after independence, entrenching notions of Arab superiority in the new state by reserving almost all jobs for Arabs and failing to develop areas inhabited by Black people. Today, in any government, department, or bank in Khartoum, one rarely sees a Black person in an important role. And outside of urban areas where the population is primarily Black, the region is overwhelmingly underdeveloped. The superiority complex of many members of the Arab elite lies at the heart of some of the worst conflicts to hit Sudan since independence. As Black people either demand equality or their own homeland. Sudan experienced 2 civil wars between the North and the South, leading to the South officially seceding in 2011 and forming South Sudan. Meanwhile, the conflict in Sudan's western region of Darfur has been described as, quote unquote, the world's worst humanitarian crisis by the United Nations and a genocide against non-Arab pastoralist ethnic group. The number of fatalities in both conflicts, South Sudan and Darfur, is in the millions, and they both stem from the Afro-Arab identity crisis that has long afflicted Sudan. Millions of civilians living in the conflict region have been forced to relocate to Khartoum, a city where there is misconception that Sudanese Arabs are considered true Sudanese, whereas Sudanese Africans are seen as subordinates, and where a preference for lighter skin exists. So, when refugees from the South or the West flee to Khartoum, they face discrimination and prejudice due to their darker skin. This colorism shows up in many ways, including when parents tell their children not to befriend kids coming from the South, when adults tell young girls not to stay out in the sun for too long, fear of becoming dark and ugly, when media outlets describe petty criminals as Negroes since they are perceived to be poor, and when parents forbid their daughters from marrying an Abid, a derogatory term used against dark-skinned Sudanese that means slave. Many Sudanese, especially women, have resorted to the use of skin bleaching products to whiten their skin because light skin is seen as a sign of beauty. When their wedding day comes around, they are pressured into using these products, which have been linked to cancer for fear of being ostracized by their friends, family, and community. The contradiction of all of this is that most Sudan's population, even top-ranking government officials of the Arab elite, quote unquote, are African in appearance, and an outsider would be hard pressed to tell the difference between a northerner and a southerner. As mentioned before, the intermixture of Arabs with indigenous Black tribes centuries ago did not really alter Sudanese appearance. Therefore, the framework for disentangling the colorism and identity crisis Sudan faces cannot be simply transferred from the BLM movement in the United States, but must be unique to the Sudan's situation. And that is the author Mustafa Abubakar, excuse me.
Abu Bakr.
Abu Bakr, thank you, President. But yeah, I just wanted to share that since we was on the topic.
Thank you, Lady President. Offers more insight. Dr. Roots, did you have a comment?
Thank you very much. I think this is a very good thing. It brings to mind about Liberia and the United States as well. Here in the United States, I lived in Florida. People with light skin color, they feel superior than blacks with dark skin color. Similarly, when the slaves returned to Liberia, the light skin color were in government. They lived in Monrovia. Liberia used to be called Ducal. They changed it to Liberty in Africa. They went there with the mind to civilize Africa through Christianity. And I'm indigenous. They told us that in order to be civilized, we have to abandon our language, our tradition, live with an former slave, eat cabbage on Sunday, dress with suit and coat and tie. I mean, garbage in, garbage out. I would say I really don't blame the former slave for whatever happened to indigenous in Liberia, because that's all they knew. They knew nothing about governance. So we were in a country where we pay taxes to government and we had no representation until 1980. My grandpa was tortured and killed by tax collector. The American Liberians, we call the former slave tax collector. So when you talk about slavery, you talk about discrimination, you talk about racism, I have different perspective, because for over 100 years, I was suppressed by my own black man in Liberia as an indigenous. I was not allowed to vote until 1980.
Wow.
So this skin color thing is everywhere in Liberia, even up to this date. For example, Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf, a lady who was the Liberian Truth and Reconciliation Commission's indicted her for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Here in America, just accusation against a public official will tell you resign. In the case of Governor Cuomo, when it came to Liberia, Hillary Clinton flew over there and endorsed her in the face. I mean, that was the point of departure for me. That's where I turned automatically against the Democratic Party and saw it as a criminal party. Went to Liberia, endorsed Ellen Johnson-Sirleaf. They did not stop there. When she was facing humiliation, immediately defeat by 2011, they awarded her Nobel Peace Prize. They did not stop there. Every major academic institution awarded this woman honorary doctoral degrees. We were the ones on the ground writing them, and they had the audacity not even to respond. Even Robert Gates, the Gates man on TV, he claims to be Pan-African. He's not a Pan-Africanist. He's a puppet of the colonial master. because when we wrote in, we explained our grievances. I suffered the war. I survived the Luton massacre. I mean, I saw my brother executed right before me. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. They refused to even hear our grievances. Harvard University awarded her 2011 Nobel Peace, honorary doctorate degree. Cornell University, and I'm determined to sue them next year for the pain they suffered, they inflicted on Liberian war victims. So racism and here in America, we really have a work to do in terms of the question of Africa. I believed when African Americans here get to understand what is taking place in the motherland, how everything traces back to Washington, D.C., I think we can all work together to liberate Africa from the yoke of our own brothers who are in the political, in the Democratic Party, who continue to work for in the interest of the deep state or the American corporation, than working in the interest of Africa like they do. So you are absolutely correct. We have racism problem in Africa, but this racism problem, they know it is there, divide and conquer. The imperial masters, the imperialists capitalize on this divide and this racism among us, this problem, and they work with the Arabs to suppress the indigenous African in pursuing their imperialistic agenda in Africa. Thank you.
Yes, President John, I want to ask Lady President, what's the name of that article you read? What's the title?
I shared it in the group
shared it
chat,
in the check in the chat.
but it's called The History Behind Sudan's Identity Crisis.
The history.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, and we can obviously we can talk about our issues in the continent all day, all week, all month, all year. I didn't expect the discussion to go as long as it did. I have to stop it at this point. We're going to have a change in topics in 10 minutes at 6:30. So I wanted to take a little bit of time just to wrap up this portion and maybe take a couple minutes break prior to 6:30. A couple things that I wanted to present just to make sure we're all on the same page as far as UNIA. We've discussed a lot of things. I have, we have responsibility legally to protect, the organization and our beliefs, make sure our beliefs are clear and uncontroversial. So one way we do that is I try to share our preamble to the Constitution of the UNIA-ACL. I'll scroll up and show the cover of it. People that attended Garvey Day and joined during Garvey Day should have gotten a copy of the Constitution. If you did not, please let me know, and we'll make sure you get your hard copy. But in the preamble of this great text, preamble states the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro peoples of the world. And the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man. But with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of men shall be called blessed. And I want to follow that up with an excerpt from Marcus Garvey's text, Message to the People, Course of African Philosophy. Kind of touches on what Lady President was saying, as well as Dr. Roots was saying in regards to colorism. One of the things that we believe in the UNIA is race purity. But this is what Garvey says. He says, quote, "In preaching race purity, be very careful because it is a delicate subject. Most of the people are ignorant of this idealism. You must never put color within the race against color. You must never insult any color within the race. Whatever has happened in the past was without our consent and truly because slavery and the wicked damnation of the white man imposed upon us moral behavior that we could not restrain." So he's talking there a little bit about the race mixing in the U.S., but the concept is the same no matter the circumstances. Now that we know better, it is for us to adjust these things within our own race. Teach the people to respect all shades of their own race and never to have prejudice against anyone because he is black, brown, yellow, or any shade that white claims is not white. And I'll stop there, but just generally, colorism is not something that we practice in the UNIA. We believe that our goal is to build one great race of our people, one great nation of our people, and that will consist of several different shades from light to dark. So we have no issue the lightest light Negro or the darkest dark Negro is viewed the same in the UNIA. So I just wanted to make that clear. We got a couple minutes. Anyone have any comments to support what we've discussed thus far? Oh, well, as a matter of fact, no, you don't. I'm sorry, because I still got some more stuff I got to present. So we were doing all of that just to get to a particular place. I was trying to get somewhere with the discussion, and I've got a couple minutes, and I'm gonna try to see if I can make it happen. So we talked about this picture, Tyree Nichols. Dr. Shams, thank you. So Tyree Nichols, I believe he was beaten on January 7th, and he succumbed to his injuries a few days later. But in the early of this year, early in the month of January, Brother Tyree Nichols was killed, and he was killed by officers that look like us. And we had a whole discussion, a whole meeting, and we titled the subject of the meeting, "Can we change the system from within?" Can we, as Black people, as good people, as moral people, can we change a system that was designed and set up to be immoral? And I came to the conclusion that I don't think so, personally. You may disagree, and that's fine. But with that, let me see, let me get my email. Yeah. Okay, yeah, y'all can see. How many people in Atlanta are familiar with Johnny Holllman?
I know something about him. But what was your last statement that you said about the Black people? I didn't catch that last one.
I don't remember either. Changing the system from within.
Yeah.
I didn't. I came of the opinion you cannot change the system from within.
Okay. Right.
All right. We got a couple minutes. Johnny Holllman. What do we know about Johnny Holllman?
He was heading home from a prayer meeting, and there was some kind of little fender bender and he was stopped, and for no good reason he was tased and end up dying as a result of the tase. And they have refused to release the body footage of what transpired, basically, in a nutshell.
Absolutely, Sister Diane, you on it. I don't even really get to ask any more questions. You kind of answered everything. I'll read the back of his flyer. that went out. Basically, there was an event for Brother Johnny yesterday that took place in Southwest Atlanta. We walked past. There was a march that was put together by his attorneys, Brother Mawuli Davis. We all should be aware of Brother Mawuli. We should be. He's a one of our great freedom fighters on the legal realm. Brother Attorney Gerald Griggs was there as well. He's also the president of NAACP. I was there on behalf of the UNIA, and Brother Cornelius was there as well. The flyer says Deacon Johnny Holllman Sr., age 62, just finished Bible study and left his daughters on the way home to take his wife to dinner when he was involved in a minor accident. He called 911 and waited over an hour for police to arrive. When Officer Kieran Kimbrough arrived, he decided that Deacon Holllman was at fault and issued him a traffic ticket. Deacon Holllman asked to see a sergeant. Officer Kimbrough ignored him and told him he would take him to jail if he didn't sign the ticket. Deacon Holllman told Officer Kimbrough he would sign the ticket, but the officer still grabbed him, took him to the ground, and began tasing him. Deacon Holllman tells the officer that he can't breathe, quote unquote, he can't breathe, as many as 16 times. Deacon Holllman was pronounced dead at Grady Hospital. Deacon Holloman's inhuman and illegal treatment was all captured on Officer Kimbrough's body cam, but the city will not release it to the public. So one of the things that his family, or one of the biggest things that his family is asking for is for brothers and sisters to sign this petition. So if you could search Johnny Holllman, Johnny Johnnny, Holllman, Hollman, petition, and you should see. Let me try to do this really quick. Something about organize. Yeah, organize for. It's the first thing that comes up. When you click that, it'll take you to the petition, and you can sign a petition on the right. Just need your name, email, just really your name, your email, and zip code, and sign the petition. They're almost at 4,000 signatures. They're at 3,800, and they're trying to get to at least 4,000 signatures. So I just wanted to bring this to the body to ask for support on behalf of his family to get the body cam video released. And that's all I really got right now. At 6:30, I'm expecting a brother to join us, and we're going to go into the second half of our meeting talking about UNIA-ACL officers training. But I wanted to close out, as we talked about traitors. The officer that killed this brother was one of our brothers, or was of Negro blood, of African origin. So that's why it goes back to the Tyree Nichols. Can we change the system from within? What is a traitor? How to identify a traitor, and understanding that we still have these issues and these concerns in 2023. After everything that we've been through with other races and cultures, we still have to watch out for our own people, unfortunately. That's all I've got. So,
Brother John.
Yes, go ahead, Brother Cornelius.
Hey, greetings. Can I just add something about that? Because I was there as well. That petition is on Color of Change.
Okay.
So if you go to Color of Change and then search for it, you may find it quicker. Because, the card that you were just reading off of course, they have that QR code you can just scan and it comes up. But if you're searching for it, go to Color of Change. And then also, what was I going to say? They ask not only that you sign it, but please share it.
Yes.
On other social media so that it's out available to more people. Because they are the 4,000 requested that it wouldn't hurt if they go over that.
Thank you, Brother Cornelius. Change. Okay. And we also posted it on, I believe, on our Facebook. If I can get to our post, let's see. Not on this thing enough. What? Did I not post it? Did it not go through today? There it is. Yeah. So we have it on our Facebook as well. But as Brother Cornelius said, sign the petition, share the petition. Looks like Sister Jocelyn. Thank you, Sister Jocelyn. She also put the link in the chat. So 6:32, we can have an open discussion for a couple minutes. 6:35, I'm going to shift over to our next topic. Brother Cornelius, you still have your hand up? Was that something? Is that something new or is that old?
No, I just hadn't put it down yet.
Okay.
If I could tap in on this subject real quick.
Sister Rod Ebony, go ahead.
Because I actually been having this, I've been having this topic on my mind for quite some time, and it's actually been kind of like putting me in the funk. I actually brought this same subject up in the secretary's meeting. It kind of came over to this portion of discussion, but it takes me back in history of how slavery began and like how we even came up to trade people, the point of trading people. Like, how did we get to the mindset of trading people? So it brought me to the conclusion of we were, as a people, trading our own people because of whatever reason. They were prisoners, they were menaces, they did whatever to, whatever. And when these colonizers, seem like this is just how I put things together in my little mind. Colonizers came to these countries, and the original name for Africa was Ethiopia, but when it came over to the colonized Africa at the time, I guess they were like, take them, take them, give me what you got, let's get that, and to a point where they were trading these people till it got out of hand. To my studies, and now, even now, like through all of that, we went through slavery, we went through Leopold, whatever that man's name was, and he was having experiments with Black families, and they were trying to see which family could make like lighter skinned babies or something like that, and if the family didn't produce a light skinned baby or a white baby, because like two genetically Black people can make a white baby, but he was trying to see about that. And that was one of his experiences. He did a lot of them on those people. He killed like over 20 million Africans. 20 million. America goes off about Jewish people and the little 2 million that Adolf Hitler did, but nobody's making no noise about this little old dude. So that was one thing. But now we're gonna come forward to now. I'm not gonna be too Cecil, but coming now into 2023, and you look at where we come from, and you look at what we're doing as African Americans, what we're doing here. But what about over there? We're fighting for them over there, over here, but over there, they welcoming these white folks. They welcome these white people. And like, no, come, no. They get those white people over there, the Nigerian women, those some women. I don't know if it's just like a mentality, but they get those white boys over there, and they garb them down. They let out the red carpet. They shower them with all type of culture. And this happens often. Even here, we shower these colonizers or oppressors or whatever you may call them. We shower them with culture. And we're wondering how, they're infiltrating who we are. How are they finding out who we are? Because we are inviting them. So it goes back to what President was saying earlier. Do you think we can infiltrate the system from within? Personally, I second with President. No, I don't, because you're going to have that one or two persons with that mindset of the first person who thought to trade our people. They ain't about that, no way. They can't do this, they can't do that, Take them. and it becomes to a point where it gets overwhelming. So I just wanted to bring that up because it throws me, because here we are here fighting for this and we're fighting for that with our people, and then you have also our people who welcome these same people into the culture. So it's like, where's the protection? Where is the security when you have your own people bringing in the oppressors and the colonizers? So that's just what I wanted to say.
Man, thank you, Lady President. That's why we started with Marcus Garvey's view of what it is to be a traitor, and his level of understanding. We're trying to emulate his work as best we can, and he was able to organize millions of our people. But at the same time, you know, we've got a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand, and we have a few traitors within our hundreds of thousands. So I can only imagine how many traitors he had, you know, on that level of organizing millions. So, you know, again, we are the UNIA. We are Marcus Garvey's organization. We're doing the best that we can to adapt to modern day and be successful in modern time, but we still lean from the lessons that Garvey gave us in his time and try to learn from his experience and some of his failures or setbacks. 6:38.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Somebody has something?
Yes, I was going to add to say that I think Africans at home and abroad are kind of uniting more and more. But at the end of the day, that's what we want. And wherever you go, where Africans are, you're going to find some similarities. You're going to have, you know, the Negropeans, you're going to have the sellouts. Yep. The slavery thing, where Africans are selling African, that's kind of a weird topic that's debatable, because the Africans used to trade each other among families. The whole concept of slavery that existed on the continent, if they want to call it that, is nothing like the brutality with the transatlantic slave trade. It was nothing. And even when they send the Africans to America or wherever, they would never have a vision of what the brutality that was suffered by the Africans. They had no concept. But at the end of the day, when these people show up, first it was the Arabs, because all of so-called North Africa or the Middle East used to be Africa. When they showed up, they had practiced the worst brutality, castration, and God knows all whatever. But at the end of the day, we're all suffering from the legacy of slavery and colonization. We're all suffering from the religious psychosis, because the religions of Arab Christianity, Judaism, and all of that came from African spirituality. And at the end of the day, we want to go to Mahat, the whole system of, that's our stuff. All the other stuff is what the West bought. And
Right.
so we have to find ourselves. We have to find unity amongst each other. We don't have time to blame, you know, who started or who this or that. We have to come together as a people. We have to realize that Africa is for the Africans at home. Africa is for the Africans abroad. And we have to find our unity in that. Unfortunately, as we seek this, we're going to run into sellouts. We're going to run into people with the Negropean mentality and people who have been suffering from the divide and conquer madness. But we can't really worry about those. We have to be aware, but we still have to seek the unity. And, you know, unfortunately, we can't really do anything about the brainwashing, because they do a great job to brainwash us all. And, you know, it's still prevalent. But I think there's an awakening going on in spite of all that. Race first.
Right.
Race first. Thank you, Sister Diane. All right. Any closing comments? We've got to switch over topics. Okay, thank you. In the lull as we switch over, I'm gonna take this opportunity. This is kind of something that you learn in Garvey's training, is to ask for contributions and to seek contributions, specifically from our people. So I want to give everybody a moment to record this information. I guess I'll put it in the chat as well. But if you'd like to make a contribution or update your dues or get ahead on your dues, please do so through Cash App or PayPal at this time. So let me drop this in the chat and then I'll start on the next topic. Okay. All right. Thank you for those that have and those that will and those that already are contributing. Definitely appreciate all of you. All right, let me keep moving. Where's my okay? Share screen again. So, I had invited a brother named Shaka Barak. He's a vice president out of Chicago, Division 429. Asked him to help with our UNIA officers training. And for us in Division 421, let me see. Okay, let me go to my email on that. I'll just. So we're talking about officers training. No. It's in my sent folder. Introduction. Yeah. So I sent this message to our Secretary General. When did I send this? On Wednesday, the 20th. Let her know. Secretary General Dr. Julius Nairi, CDPM Division 421 in Atlanta, would like to invite all division officers only, to our leadership / officer training provided by Division 421. Our division training consists of an in-depth study of Message to the People, course of African philosophy. Course will be held every Tuesday evening until completion. We'll have an introduction for the class this coming Sunday at 6:30 during our mass meeting. Want to invite all divisions. So let's see. And officers should have gotten this information, but we'll be going through this course over the next 6 months. And I just wanted to share with the mass members what they can have to look forward to. And this book is available to purchase now if you'd like to read it on your own. Where did I put the book? A Message to the People. So the book looks like this. And this is the one that you want to get. There's several different versions. The one that we study is the white book, just like it looks on the screen, white book with blue ink. So it's white and blue. It's a small book. The book is edited by Dr. Tony Martin, and the foreword is by the Honorable Charles L. James, who was the former President General of the UNIA-ACL. He's the 5th President General. I'm going to read some of these sections to instill into our officers as well as our membership the importance of this course. So, foreword, written by Honorable Charles L. James. President General, Universal Negro Improvement Association. In keeping with the constitutional provision and the aims and objects of the Universal Negro Improvement Association to establish schools and colleges for the racial education of our race, the founder and first President General of the UNIA, Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, made several attempts to educate some and re-educate others who would be charged with the responsibility of leadership in the UNIA. So, very first thing, there had been several attempts made to educate some, re-educate others who would be charged with the responsibility of leadership in the UNIA. He, and that's Marcus Garvey, sincerely felt that no one should be held responsible for his actions unless he or she is educated or trained to perform those responsibilities. And since the UNIA had become the largest responsible movement in racial history, its leadership should be thoroughly informed so that the proper information would be dispensed. Marcus Garvey was a man of vision, therefore his students had to be visionaries. So we know Marcus Garvey, we know his accomplishments as an orator, his accomplishments as an organizer. How well do we know his accomplishments as an educator and as a teacher? And not just as a lecturer, but one who goes through an entire course, provides an evaluation, and provides a level of certification at the end. This is what Garvey was doing at this point in his life, and we'll get to where he was in his life in just a moment. In every branch of the association, training departments were established. These include military training, training for nurses, and programs for juveniles. We recall that under his direction, a university was established at Claremont, Virginia, 1926. Smallwood Quarry Industrial Institute was renamed Universal Liberty University. Students came from various sections to enroll in the first venture. Your humble servant was one of the first trustees. So your humble servant here is
About to get nasty.
Charles L. James. Brother Terrell, you okay?
Yeah, my bad. Song on my mind.
Your humble servant was one of the first trustees. The success or failure of this great educational attempt is a matter of history. Many attempts were aborted, but the idea lived on through forums, mass meetings, group discussions, lectures, books, and pamphlets. Mr. Garvey's speeches were widely circulated for the racial education and culture of the people. In 1937, Marcus Garvey would have been turning 50 years old in that year. So this is towards the end of Garvey's life when this course came into reality. In 1937, after extensive European tour and the establishment of the parent body in London, England, the founder called a regional conference at 355 College Street, Toronto, Canada. At this conclave, he selected the following officers of divisions who, in his judgment, were qualified to give him the nucleus of creating what he proudly named the School of African Philosophy. Students of the first class were as follows: Arthur Clement Moore of Toronto, Canada; Charles Linnell James, Gary, Indiana; James R. Stewart, Cleveland, Ohio; Thomas W. Harvey, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania; Nathaniel Grissom, Chicago, Illinois; Sarah Richardson Isaacs, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania; Ethel Waddell, Chicago, Illinois; Eleanor White, Chicago, Illinois; Teresa E. Young, Cincinnati, Ohio; Abraham R. Roberts, Toronto, Canada. As these names were called, I had the qualifications required, but my ego told me that I had been an office boy in a parent body. I had shined Mr. Garvey's shoes. I had traveled short distances with him. I had heard all of his speeches since 1923. I had attended all the conventions since that time. I had visited him in prison, and I had become the youngest vice president of the famous New York local with over 40,000 members. I had been appointed by him president of the Newark Division and state commissioner of New Jersey. And now as president of the Gary, Indiana Division, I felt that I had knew it all and that Mr. Garvey's time could be better spent on someone else. To my surprise, I had the rudest awakening of my life. That's a very important paragraph. We in the UNIA that have history and a little bit of longevity, we know the significance of Brother Charles L. James. As he said here, he was the youngest vice president of the New York Division with 40,000 members. And I believe he was about 18, 19 at the time. So he has been around Garvey his entire adult life, for probably at this point, let me see, I had heard all of his speeches since 1923. So what's that, 14 years that he had been in close proximity with Mr. Garvey. And he kind of felt, his ego, he even says it, his ego made him feel like he knew enough. He knew Garvey and Garveyism, and Garvey's time could be better spent with someone else. We have to be extremely careful, and even myself, I try to maintain a level of humility to always be willing to further develop ourselves. And I feel that this course is one of the best ways for us to do that. And it's not just a one-time thing. This will be the third year that I've provided an instruction for the course. And I've been studying the course myself for about 5 years, but I still don't feel like the book tells you when you've mastered the course, and the world will know when someone masters this information, because as Garvey says in the text, you'll know who mastered the information by their ability to organize. So when you see the person that can bring in millions of people back into the UNIA, you will see the person that has mastered this text. All right, let me continue. Mr. Garvey shocked me. He said to me publicly, "James, you don't know. I know that you don't know let me get this back. Mr. Garvey shocked me. He said to me publicly, "James, you don't know. I know that you don't know because I have not taught you, and you will take the course of African philosophy, so that when you say I know, you will know that you know, because you will have been taught by me." From then on, there was no question. I enlisted for the duration. The class became one family. We ate together, roomed together, studied together, recognizing the professor as the chief architect of our intellectual destiny. As for me, it was a dose of humility mixed with the yearnings for knowledge. For 30 days and nights, with 2 sessions per night, mass meetings at 8:00 p.m., studying until the early morning hours, we had no time for anything else but study, study, study. Then finally came graduation. Let the record show that I received the highest grade in every point of the examination. I was graded an E. My classmates all agreed that I was the leader of the first class in the School of African Philosophy. We were charged with guarding the written course with our lives. The unwritten course was also to be engraved on the tablets of our memory. As I write this foreword, I am sorry to announce that all of my classmates of the first class have joined with the Right Excellent Marcus Mosiah Garvey and our other ancestors. With all our human frailties, I am convinced that this first class had not failed our teacher, and that we have been a shining example to those who come after us. This course is ours. Whatever is written, distorted, and injected by unauthorized persons using devices other than the proper way that was given to us by the founder and applying the benefits to their own personal benefit, please understand that, quote, there's a destiny that makes us brothers. None goes his way alone. All that we send into the lives of others come back into our own. As the only surviving graduate of the first class, it is important to me to protect the interests of those who preceded me into eternity, and knowing that there are forces that are trying to distort history, I hereby authorize Dr. Tony Martin, who has been recognized and appointed the authentic historian on the life and works of the Honorable Marcus Garvey by the Universal Negro Improvement Association and Convention to publish the written document with the understanding that the right be preserved for future generations, which is the charge of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, founder. It's a published document with the understanding that the right be preserved for future generations. Let me hope that into whoever's hands these lessons fall, that they may use them wisely. For in these lessons there is eternal life for Africans at home and abroad, and that they testify to God's greatest gift to our race in the person of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Proclaim it to the world, Africa for the Africans, those at home and those abroad. Excuse me. But in summary, this course was written by the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey for the express purpose of teaching the leadership, the officers of the UNIA, and I think in the next part it talks about after his transition. And I'll read the preface now. This should take me 20 minutes. And once I finish this, we'll open up the floor for discussion, thoughts on what we've read. Preface, and the preface is written by the editor, Dr. Tony Martin, but it reinforces the purpose of the course, the history of the course, and what the course actually, the best analysis or summary of what the course is. The Course of African Philosophy is a unique document. With the exception of his poetical works, it is the closest thing to a book that Marcus Garvey ever wrote. So that's the first thing you should remember. When you look up text authored by Marcus Garvey, you don't get a lot of responses. And the Message to the People is one of the only, I believe there's only 2 texts that are officially authored by Marcus Garvey. But again, as Garveyites, as followers of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, I think following, the words that he put down in one of his only few texts is a great way of following his example. With the exception of his poetical works, yet 46 years after his death, it is being published here for the first time. It represents, as it were, the last political will and testament of a man who stands without equal in the history of the worldwide mobilization of African peoples. Very important statement. It stands, as it were, the last political will and testament of Marcus Garvey. For Marcus Garvey did not merely organize the most massive Black movement in the history of the United States of America, he also organized the largest and most successful movement among African peoples in the Caribbean area. In fact, as a serious pan-Caribbean movement cutting across political and linguistic barriers, Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association has no serious challenger. Garvey's organization has an equally singular record in Africa, where it established itself oblivious of political and linguistic barriers in the European colonies of England, France, Belgium, and Portugal, as well as in the independent state of Liberia and the racist state of South Africa. In Central America, too, the UNIA spread with great rapidity from Mexico to Panama. In Canada, it entrenched itself coast to coast from British Columbia to Nova Scotia. Scattered Africa fell within Garvey's organizational genius in every far-flung corner, whether Brazil, Australia, or Berry Dock, Wales. Garvey lived from 1887 to 1940. His years of all-encompassing triumph coincided with his sojourn in the United States from 1916 to 1927. Very important to know those dates of Garvey's life, his transition, and when he was in the United States. He's got a tremendous legacy, and we know that majority of that success came during his time in the United States. But in reality, he was only physically in the United States for 11 years, and at least 2 of those years were in incarceration. So a majority of what Garvey was able to accomplish was done in under 10 years. His immigration to that country was, however, preceded by long years of preparation for his life's work, long years of study, travel, and organizational work, culminating in the founding of the Universal Negro Improvement Association in his Jamaican homeland in 1914. After his expulsion from the United States in 1927, Garvey's organization underwent a long and slow decline. As the chief struggled to hold together his fragmenting colossus from inadequate headquarters in Jamaica and later in England, it was in 1937. 10 years after his deportation from the United States, 2 years after relocating to England, and 3 years before his death, that Garvey introduced his course of African philosophy. This was nothing less than a distillation of a lifetime of organizational experience. It contained a mixture of the techniques he himself had utilized to achieve success and an attempt to incorporate the hard lessons he had learned with the benefit of an unfortunate hindsight. Much of the Machiavellian quality of the document comes from this latter consideration. Garvey had experienced in a painful way the treacherous potential enveloped within human nature. If he had his life to live over, he seems to be saying he would be less trusting, his would be a less trusting, more cautious approach. And I wish Brother Macias, our first vice president, was on. Him and we kind of go back and forth on Garvey's philosophies, on his opinions and his evolution. I'll argue that some of his statements in regards to, let me see, what was not confidence, because confidence is consistent, but well, I guess I could apply that to other people. Garvey says, without confidence, we are twice defeated. With confidence, we have won before the race has even started. And amongst our executives, sometimes we apply that to our people and say that, we have to be confident in our people. But I tend to rely upon this statement from Garvey later in his life where he says that if he could have done it again, he would have had a less trusting, more cautious approach. And he says specifically in regards to people. But he explains that more in the heart of the text. The immediate purpose of the Universal Negro Improvement, the immediate purpose of the course of African philosophy was to train a cadre of UNIA leaders who would carry on the great work of the organization after Garvey's death. Garvey designed the 22 lessons in London and took them to Canada, where from August 21st to 31st, from August 24th to 31st, 1937, he conducted a regional conference for North American members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. So, a regional conference for North American members. I thought that would have been convention, but it's something else. I'm assuming. Garvey's initial vehicle for imparting his accumulated experience was the School of African Philosophy, which met immediately after the first conference. For most of the month of September 1937, Garvey trained a select group of UNIA organizers from the North American field. They spent 12 or more hours together every day. They listened to Garvey's lectures, ate together, did their homework together. During the course of this month, each student was required to write out each lesson in his or her own handwriting. The course, described by Garvey as, quote, a most rigid system of training, covered over 42 subjects. Much of it remained unwritten, for it was in the nature of a confidential in-house affair. Even the 22 lessons reproduced here were guarded jealously from indiscriminate circulation. Garvey's overriding concern was to develop within his organizers a fierce Afrocentric view of the world. He accepted as given the fact that the white race had imposed its viewpoints on the world, and he thought the African people would have to adopt similar strategies in their own behalf. The race-first position would tolerate no permanent allies from among other groups. Whites were to be manipulated where possible, but their propaganda was to be avoided and counteracted. Under no circumstances were they to obtain positions of influence or control over Black organizations. The course, reported the Boston Chronicle after an interview with Garvey, would instill, quote unquote, an independent outlook, a philosophy entirely Negroid, void of anything that will subjugate the mind of the Negro. In the context of a confidential conclave, that's important as well. Most of what we get from Garvey, selected writings and speeches, philosophies and opinions, his lectures, even his documents from his legal issues are all what's the word? Transpont or concordance, or not concordance, but are all discussions that are taking place on a public scale. So this book is one of the first times you get to see Garvey's confidential thoughts, his confidential feelings, and him speaking without risk of any type of retribution. Garvey could be much less guarded in his speech than would have been the case otherwise. While forcefully attempting to lead his people out of the domination of the white group, he could accordingly frankly admire their methods. Whites knew exactly what they wanted, and in the final analysis, subordinated much else to their pursuit of racial self-interest. Never swallow wholly what the white man writes or says without first critically analyzing it, he taught in lesson 1. But this did not mean that the African race should eschew the white group's methods. Things that may not be true, he suggested in the same lesson, can be made so if you repeat them long and often enough. Therefore, always repeat statements that will give your race status and an advantage. That is how the white man has built up his system of superiority, end quote. Garvey, in his heyday, had to contend with white self-interest and opportunism from both right and left. He simultaneously praised Lenin and Trotsky for their work in the Soviet Union and resisted the unprincipled attempts of the Communist Party of the USA to bore from within his organization. Here, in the course of African philosophy, he presented his students with a rare evaluation of Karl Marx. Communism, he said, was founded principally on the theory of Karl Marx, who knew very little about Negroes and who thought and wrote less about them. It seeks to put the government in the hands of an ignorant white mass who have not been able to destroy their natural prejudice toward Negroes and other non-white people. So those are Garvey's thoughts on communism and Karl Marx. On the question of Jews, as on the question of communists, Garvey's race-first position led him to a duality of attitude. In traditional Afro-American vein, he praised the Jews for their group solidarity and resented their positions of influence and power in certain economic and political aspects of Black life. He himself had come into business contact with Jews at various times and with both good and bad results. He showed considerable pique during his trial for alleged mail fraud in 1923, where the presiding judge, Julian Mack, happened to be an important figure in North American Zionism. For the most part, there should be few surprises in these lessons for those already familiar with Garvey's ideology. What we find here is the standard fare of race first, whether in religion, literature, historical studies, intergroup relations, or in any other area, self-reliance and nationhood. What is new and fascinating is the tone of many of these utterances, coming as they do near the end of his life and in a confidential setting. So again, a lot of the principles are consistent, but this is Garvey as an older man and Garvey in a confidential setting. So, unrestrained, I think, is the best way to say it. Equally new in emphasis, though not in substance, is his insistent advocacy of discipline. Garvey emerges here beneath the flamboyance usually associated with his name, beneath the genius for organizing, beneath the oratorical eloquence for which he was legendary, as an advocate of hard work, singleness of purpose, and self-discipline. The leader must strive to master his shortcomings, he says. The race must strive for excellence. The greatest men and women in the world burn the midnight lamp. Nor does he spare the lazy and unmotivated within his own group. Like Booker T. Washington or Malcolm X or Elijah Muhammad, Garvey was not one to cover up the shortcomings of his own people. Quote, the majority of Negroes are ignorant, end quote, he says in lesson 21. But the intent, as always, is positive. He says, quote, as the other people were willing to sacrifice their time and even their lives to Christianize our race, we must exercise patience and time to civilize our people, end quote. Garvey cannot, any more than anybody else, escape totally from the confines of his time. There is much assorted homely advice on diet, grooming, and love, among other things. Some of this is timeless, but some seems dated and passé from the perspective of 4 decades later. The lessons are not without their unexpected asides of dry humor either. One is never try to make a speech on a hungry stomach, he warns. You may faint and die before you are finished. The first course of African philosophy was followed by examinations held on September 23rd, 1973. 10 students were successful. They were Arthur C. Moore of Toronto, Charles L. James of Gary, Indiana, James R. Stewart of Cleveland, Ohio, Thomas W. Harvey, Philadelphia, Nathaniel Grisham of Chicago, Miss Sarah Richardson Isaacs of Philadelphia, Miss Ethel Waddell of Chicago, Miss Teresa E. Young of Cincinnati, Miss Eleanor White of Chicago, and Abraham R. Roberts of Toronto. Joseph L. Gray of Charleston, Missouri did not graduate, but continued as a student. The first group of graduates was immediately sent out as UNIA commissioners to the North American field. Some of them in due course instructed classes in the course of African philosophy. Charles L. James taught the course in Gary, Indiana, St. Louis, and New Orleans. James Stewart offered the course in Cleveland. 3 of the 10, Stewart, Harvey, and James, in turn, occupied the organization's highest post, that of President General. So that's a very important statement. Out of the 10 students that were in the first class of the course of African philosophy, 3 of those students went on to become President General, which is the highest position in the UNIA. That is the seat that Marcus Garvey held in his time. In 1938, Garvey introduced the lessons as a correspondence course conducted from his London headquarters. His Black Man magazine published the names of 7 graduates in June 1939, in its June 1939 number. 4 were from the United States, with 1 each from Nigeria, Uganda, and South Africa. They were Benjamin W. Jones of Philadelphia, J.O. Nwanolu of Onitsha, Nigeria, Ms. H.T. McNary of Detroit, D.S. Musoke of Kampala, Uganda, Mrs. Keturah Paul of New York City, H. Ilitintro of Cape Province, South Africa, and Miss E.M. Collins of New York City. Names of additional graduates were promised for the next issue of The Black Man, but no further issues were published. Garvey died the following year on June 10th, 1940. So let me just stop there. This was something that, and the course kind of says that this was, I'll say that in the end, it says that this course was the first thing that Garvey was able to complete from start to finish. But as this kind of mentions right here, the course had planned to continue, but unfortunately Garvey transitioned before he was able to have another graduating class. The course of African philosophy came at the end of many years of UNIA efforts in the field of education. The organization's original aims and objects in 1914 included the establishment of educational institutions. Garvey's trip to the United States in 1916 was intended initially as a fundraising tour for the UNIA's projected agricultural and industrial schools in Jamaica. At various times during the 1920s, the organization ran a Booker T. Washington University in Harlem, New York, a Liberty University in Claremont, Virginia, and in-service courses for UNIA civil servants. Branches in several countries ran elementary and secondary schools. Famous educators and scholars such as Hubert H. Harrison, J.A. Rogers, Carter G. Woodson, and many more were associated with the organization at one time or another. UNIA schools had always had the same ultimate purpose, namely presentation of an Afrocentric perspective. The School of African Philosophy had itself been in the making from as early as 1934. In that year, the UNIA's 7th International Convention of Negro Peoples of the World, meeting in Kingston, Jamaica, authorized the establishment of, quote, a college for the purpose of training leadership who are to supervise the work in different parts of the world, end quote. Intelligence, said Garvey in the course of African philosophy, rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. The intelligence of which he spoke was not merely book learning, but the self-interested common sense which the race seemed to lack. He expressed it this way in a fictitious father-son dialogue in 1935. Education, boy, is a mighty force. It is a weapon of human control. If you can educate a people in the idea that you have, they will react to your satisfaction whether the education is as a propaganda is right or wrong. It is fitting that the UNIA's last educational endeavor in Garvey's lifetime should have been the first that he was able to conduct from start to finish. Quote, I have given them all I know, end quote, he declared to the people in Detroit in 1937, and quote, I am trying to make everyone a Marcus Garvey personified, end quote. And as I said, this is the this is the preface written by Dr. Tony Martin, and he put the date November 10th, 1985. So this is primarily, to our officers. For Division 421, this is a required training. We as officers should have a course of training, a rites of passage, so to speak, a process of development. We shouldn't just be sitting in our positions, spinning our wheels year after year, but not going through any level of development and not offering any level of development to those that come after us. And this has been a staple. This course has been a staple of Division 421 before my time. But I think, when I came into this position, I made it a requirement. It's no longer optional. Until we can develop something of our own in our own time that's comparable to what Marcus Garvey produced for the purpose of why it was produced, I see it fit for the course of African philosophy to be maintained as our officers' training. So this is really a heads up for our officers. On Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, we'll start the course. I'm going to go over the same thing that we just went over here, the preface and the foreword. This is kind of just a double refresher. And for our normal members and new members, this is something to look forward to. This is not something that we open up for new members or allow for new members just because of as we just read, the tone here that Garvey has can be it can be daunting, I guess, or it can be a little bit of a difference of what we have been taught and what we've been told about Garvey. And not to say that what we've been taught or what we've been told is wrong or false, but this is Garvey unrestrained. So we want our new members to at least get through a year of development, a year of our orientation course provided by the parent body. before they jump on to something like this. But for our officers, especially those that have been around for a few years, we should know this information. We should have a level of mastery of this information, and at the end of the day, we should be teaching this to those that come after us. So 721, that's all I really had on introduction to the course of African philosophy, introduction to officers training. And I want to take a moment now to kind of go through. I want to hear from our officers, and I want to hear from our officers. Then I'll open the floor. We've got special guests I see as well, so we'll allow them to speak, and then I'll open it up to our ordinary members. First person that I wanted to hear from is Ross Marvin. Ross Marvin, you there? Ross Marvin, you there?
Yes, I'm here, President John. I had to unlock my phone. I couldn't come off the mute.
Okay.
But greetings, family, and also greetings to our guests, my longtime UNIA brothers and sisters. I see the Secretary General is on the call. Greetings, Secretary General Brenda, and also I see that President Clyde is on the call from UNIA Division 429 in Chicago. So glad to have them. And President John, you're doing an excellent job reaching out to the other UNIA divisions, to the parent body, inviting them to our officer training course on the course of African philosophy. Today has been a very positive meeting, a lot of information, especially the first half of our meeting. We started out with the conversation on Africa and about the brothers' struggle, our brothers and sisters' struggle for freedom and for self-determination on the continent. I just want to say, President John, the course of African philosophy message to the people is very, very important. And as you said, you can tell somebody who masters the course because they'll be naturally a great organizer and builder in the UNIA government. I didn't have much to share tonight. I was just listening in, and I'm saying, President John, you're doing an excellent job because you bring in the knowledge, you bring in the information, and that's what our people need, the knowledge and the information, both of us, the UNIA government, but also current knowledge on what's happening in Africa and to African people. So when I was listening to the discussion a little earlier, I was saying that's the same thing that was happening in Jamaica between, lighter skinned Black people and darker skinned Black people, where a lot of the light skinned Black people were the people in control of the banks and the institutions that control the funds, and so on. But thankful for you to bring that point that Garvey says we can't have colorism within the UNIA.
Yes, sir.
So all of this is very important knowledge for us to know. And looking forward to the next training session for our officers on the message of people. Ross Marvin speaking, race first.
Race first. Thank you, President Ross. Next, I want to bring in our Lady President, Sister Rod Ebony. What are your thoughts on the importance of officer training and resources that we can tap into for officers training? President, you there?
I'm here. Greetings again, family. I don't really have much to share. This is for those who are or will be tuning in to this course. Is a very enlightening course. It's a lot of information. As you can tell, even when President John was just reading the foreword, it was a lot of information. He was, telling us to take note of that, take note of this, take note of that. So it's very heavy information. He's very detailed in these teachings. He gives a lot of information about people and how your character should be amongst these people while you're in the UNIA. And he talks about how people's attitude might be, towards you. And he talks about, just recognizing the different energies in people and, how, to like just recognizing. So it's a very great course. I missed my test last time, so I'm looking forward to this one again. I didn't get a chance to write the whole book out because it's like a saying, like if you miss the course, then you have to write the book word for word. So I didn't get a chance to write the book either. So I'm excited. I'm excited to take this course again. Because like I said, you honestly can never get enough of this book. It's very like I said, it's very detailed. The conversations that you have in between the lessons are very enlightening. So, please come and take up as much information. Two, I wanted to mention, I shared the book, the Google book with President John himself is actually reading from. I actually shared that book in the comments. This book, I also, shoot my background. So.
Thank you.
But I actually have the book from, I got this book off Amazon. I don't know if you can see it, but
I saw you holding it earlier.
yeah, but it doesn't have that that forward page you were reading. I'm sorry, but it does has this page in it, and this is the part that I thought was kind of interesting. And it goes, and it leaves a space for you to write your name.
That's the oath.
Yeah, do it. I never signed this part. And I don't remember if I ever, did this part, but I'm gonna read this oath to y'all. Sister Rod Ebony.
Hold on.
Don't go there.
No, you good. You can. Give me 1 second.
Is it in the book though?
It's in that book. It's not in the blue one. But that is a valid document. That is valid. And I pulled it from that text. I should have it. There it is. Okay. Now you can. I just wanted to share it with the family while you're reading.
Okay.
Yes.
Sister Ebony, it's in the Constitution.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Thank you, Secretary General.
The Constitution hits Sister Brenda, so I'm up on it. But I'm gonna read this out loud. I, Sister Rod Ebony, do solemnly swear before Almighty God that I have entered upon the instructions of the African School of Philosophy conducted by Marcus Garvey for no other purpose than to serve the Negro race through the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, in which he is President General, and that I shall not use the knowledge so gained to promote or advance the interests of any other organization. I shall confine myself always to the service of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and work within the framework of the organization for any promotion I may desire for the improvement of my race. I shall never divulge or reveal any of these lessons I receive to anyone, and shall never allow the lessons or records thereof to fall into the hands of anyone, and shall safeguard the same with my life from falling into the hands of other races. I shall always use all my energy and ability to advance the interests of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and I shall never be in rebellion against it. And to all this I swear myself, my honor, and sacred trust, and should I fail this oath, may the just reward be meted out to me, so help me God. So
Thank you, Sister Ebony. I stand corrected. That's not the oath I thought you were doing. So this oath is, I do have a different version of the book, and it does have Mother White's
Yes.
from Mother White's notes. It's not the one you have, Sister Ebony, but in the one that we use, the official one, it is not included. So.
Yes. And thank you, Secretary General. Thank you, Sister Rod Ebony. To my knowledge, and as Secretary General stated, that oath specifically, I mean, it was generally an oath for the class, but that one specifically was preserved by Sister Eleanor White, who, as we read, was one of the first graduates of the first class. So very historic. It is something that we continue today. We ask students that go through the course to recite the pledge or recite the oath as Sister Ebony did.
Does this course, does this overlap in any way to the orientation? Or this is something different?
Great question, Sister Diane. This is different. This is completely separate. The orientation course is open to all members. We're in discussions of having an officers course that's specifically for officers. So this would not overlap with orientation from a information standpoint. In fact, last year, or was it this year? I think it was this year, we went through the orientation curriculum and removed anything that was related to the course of African philosophy to eliminate any additional overlap. But these are two separate courses.
And I just want to add on to that too. We're focused, like the orientation gives you a grasp of like all Garvey just about, and we're just like focused like just like on message to the people. Like the orientation have like math, and it talks about different sayings that he said, and it talks about go over race first and different other books and philosophies that he's actually done. So the orientation gives you like a big objective of Garvey and his accomplishments. More of so we're focusing on the course of Garvey and the UNIA and how we should be conducting ourselves in such manners. So that's kind of like the difference in the orientation and message to the people's course. So if you take both, you're going to get boom full of Garvey. So I advise everybody to just, be tuned in, because if you want to know more about the UNIA, if you want to know more about the Black government, this is the perfect opportunity to do it right now, because we have the orientation classes going. They just did the second class. I missed it yesterday, but we have the second class going Saturday. We're having our first a message to the people course starting Tuesday. So if we're right on time. So just go ahead and jump in and don't miss a day, because if you miss one day, you're going to miss a lot of information. You're going to miss a lot of information. So just stay tuned and just keep coming and stay engaged. That's what I can say.
And in regards to the parent body orientation, some of the members may not be aware. You will see the next invitation that comes out. I have not forwarded those to our membership. I had only forwarded those to our officers, trying to get our officers on board. Sister Diane, I appreciate you. I saw you there last night. All officers, we need to be attending the orientation provided out of New York. But for week 3, I will forward that to all of our members. So some of y'all may be wondering, like, what is she talking about Saturday orientation? But next Saturday will be week 3. You haven't really missed too much. The things that were discussed thus far, the things that were discussed last night were the Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World and the teachings of Ptah-hotep. That's embarrassing. But they're both readily available online. Where's my book at? So you can review those on your own time. But yeah, that's majority of what you missed so far. I missed the very first class, so I really, and I'll share the the information that comes out with the classes, I'll get that information to everybody as well. So even the classes that you missed, I'll send that information out. Who is drawing on the hang on thing? All right, with that, let me go ahead and jump to Brother Clyde, thank you. I was getting ready to jump to our visitors. Greetings, Brother Clyde. You got your hand up.
Thank you, President John. Thank you, President Ashley. Good to hear you also. I like to call my President Ross Marvin as well. So thank you so much for coming in. So good to hear your voice. Thank you, Secretary General, for coming in. I have a question. I appreciate you taking the challenge again to teach the course. We'll try as hard as we can. We just installed a couple new officers today. We want to make sure that we take this opportunity to make sure they got a well-rounded focus on the black print that Garvey laid out for us for our leaders. I have a question with regards to this oath. This is actually the first time I have seen this. And but the date here, we got September of 1927. Should that be 37?
You're probably right.
Yes, it is.
Well, I don't think we had it until 1937. So go ahead.
Yeah.
It is 37, Brother Clark.
Okay.
I'm looking at it. If you got the
Oh, done deal. All right.
black book,
Okay.
there you go.
But this is wonderful. Now, of course, we've got this as, I guess, somewhat public knowledge, and that the book, Message to the People, A Course of African Philosophy, is published, not only the original version from Tony Martin, but also now Ross Sekou and our own Frontline Books and Publishing has also taken Ross, what's Ross? Ross Sekou Tafari here in Chicago and also Jamaica. But again, we appreciate you all for all of your efforts, and we'll try to make sure that we've got some attendance from us here in Chicago, Division 429. Thank you.
Thank you, President Clyde. And for those that don't know, that's President Clyde Banks. He's president of the Nkrumah Memorial Progressive Division. Is that the name?
Garvey Nkrumah Memorial Progressive Division 429 here in Chicago. Yes, our older sister brother division here in Chicago is Division 401. We've only got 49 years. They got, what is it now, 65 years, Sister Brenda?
I haven't seen it.
Hmm.
They've been around longer than, well, that would make it younger than me, so I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Well, thank you, President Clyde, distinguished visitor out of Chicago. And we also have another distinguished guest, our Secretary General. This sister holds the position as the highest secretary in the UNIA. Sister Brenda, greetings.
Greetings. And Brother Clyde is also our Minister of Labor and Industries.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Forgot about that. So take advantage of well, I mean, don't, harass the brothers and sisters, but just be aware of what's going on and the type of people that we have in the room. Secretary General.
All right. Good to hear, Brother Clyde. I can't wait to get that email about your new officers, Brother Clyde. And
we literally just got off the phone. So that's what's happening.
Okay. You went on mute, Brother Clyde. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we just got off the phone a few minutes ago with our business meeting for Division 429. And for those of you all that might know some of our Division 429 officers, our treasurer for and a longtime member for, I guess, 10 years, Dr. Robert Scott just made his transition last week on the 20th. I've been out of town and I'm just getting back here. So just telling a few people at this point. So we're making sure that we got some folks filling the financial shoes that he leaves behind. But he did a lot for Chicago divisions here and helping us build out our centers and making sure that we have what we need to be able to have open meetings, electronics, whatever we really needed. He was able to help us with. When we had our convention in Chicago 2015, he graciously let us use his studio, One Stop Productions, a studio in Chicago, to lead us off with our first meet and greet. And beyond that, we had a few things at his studio since then as well. But thank you all again.
There was also the studio.
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Clyde.
For that information, Brother Clyde. And I wanted to say, yeah, at one point it was really hard to get the message to the people, the course of African philosophy. And so in our division, this been, I don't know how many years ago now, 10, 8, 7, something like that. We bought the Marcus Garvey Life and Lessons, Robert Hill, by Robert Hill, and included in that, he has the Mother White's, the oath is in there. And so I'm like, no, I read that somewhere. It's in some book I've seen. So I went and pulled it out. But it's, yeah, so it's in more than one book. And I do appreciate Sister Ra Ebony for bringing that up and pointing that out to us. And Brother John, you can remove the marks.
Yeah, I just did that.
Okay, yeah. And I just wanted to say, I don't know if you said anything about the class yet, being for 421 officers. Did you mention that?
Well, I mean, the only people on the call that are not 421 are yourself and President Clyde.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's excellent. Okay.
Yes.
And 121
Oh yeah, Sister Free.
says Freedom Rising. I apologize for my lateness,
You just
but I'll
joined,
be
right?
here for other months. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for joining, Sister Freedom. So, all right, Secretary General, you put me on the spot. You know, oh my gosh.
Before you say that, I want to say, I like Brother Clyde. I think you're doing a great job. I appreciate that you opened it up. But
Yes.
and Brother Ross Marvin, it was so good to see you and hear you. We miss you. So I'm hoping we'll see more of you. I'm gonna have to show up for your Sunday meetings.
Yes, Secretary General, you'll find me here with 421 under the leadership of President John, because you're doing a great job. So I ain't going no place. I'm right here.
All right. Great.
Yes. Good to hear your voice, Secretary General.
Santa.
Okay. Secretary General, can I go ahead and give everyone the news?
Yes, I'm turning it back over to you.
Thank you. And officers and members, just hang tight. We're getting ready to get to everyone. We've got maybe 15 minutes. We'll try to get through everyone as quickly as we can. Okay, so what Secretary General is referring to is who will be able to participate in the course. So we've been doing this now. This will be our third year. When we first started out, we offered the course. It was only Division 421 for the first few weeks, but in the process of going through the course, you realize that this is a class course and it's meant to be provided to a group and a group of leadership. So we decided to make the decision to make the course available to other divisions. and that was in 2021. A few divisions participated at that time. We got through it. Once we completed it, we offered some certifications for completion. We did the same thing last year, had a little bit better participation from the other divisions, but followed the same process. This year, we were trying to follow the same process. However, it has come to my attention that the President General does not wish to have our Division 421 course opened up to other divisions. So other divisions will not be able to participate at this time. I'm supposed to meet with the High Executive Council this coming Thursday to discuss the matter. But as of right now, the course is only available to Division 421 officers.
So, message to the people. What we doing every Tuesday is we gonna do it with us. Like we can't share this with our other divisions.
We cannot share this with other divisions as of right now.
I mean, so
Wasn't aware of that, but we'll still support you, brother.
Thank you, Brother Clyde. Thank you, Brother Clyde. And Brother Clyde, I hope you're on the HEC call this coming Thursday.
Yes.
Yes, me too.
Complete my case.
We will be.
Secretary General.
May I just add to that? Okay. So the President General had stated when we were in Atlanta at HEC, when he was talking about the orientation course, that divisions can do extra on their own, but he wants, to try to centralize it where every division is not doing their own thing, where all divisions are, that there's a standard or a centralized course. So right now we have the orientation course, instead of being done as we did it differently in all our divisions. We had our 90-day orientation guide, but we all interpreted it differently. And we taught the orientation course differently, different amount of times. So now it's centralized under the Minister of Education. And the President General said then that, and I can't remember exactly how he said it, but that he wants this course also to be centralized. Well, first he asked if we really need 2 courses, but we explained that we did. And then he wanted it to be centralized, which is kind of what we had started doing under 421, but he doesn't want it to be under the division. He wants it to be under the UNIA. And so when Brother John comes to us, he will be presenting to the HEC his course for the HEC to sign on. So hopefully it'll just be semantics, but I don't know.
Right. Come on now. Like I'm gonna pray and I'm gonna be confident and be optimistic.
You do a good job, but he does have a valid point because, in Chicago, we have taught the course, and, in DC, they've done the course. So we've had divisions doing the course all over I won't say the world, I'll say all over the US that I know of. And so, so kind of making sure that we're all on the same page and that there's a UNIA one, and then divisions can do more if they want, they could supplement. But I think it'll be eventually be the same as the orientation course. Not necessarily from, New York, according to the President General, Brother John, he has no problem with you doing the course. He just, he didn't know about it until 2 days before that it was going to happen.
Okay.
And it would start. You said it would start at the thing. You sent the stuff to me probably about 4 or 5 days before, but I didn't send it out to like 2 days before, right? Isn't that when everybody got the email?
Yes, yes.
That's when the President
Wednesday.
General saw it.
Well, but we did also, and my division is aware, it was in our report to convention.
That you would be starting again, right? But there was no date, and he received nothing until the notice went out that the class was starting.
In the okay.
And that's on me as well as you, Brother John. We both have to we have to accept that one.
I didn't have a specific date. All right. I'm not going.
Well,
We'll talk on Thursday.
On Thursday, Brother John. We appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Try to get some messages out before that too. But unfortunately, that means it missed Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if at all possible, we should not miss. If people are planning on taking the class, they should not miss it. But thank you for your efforts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but last time, Brother John, didn't you make the recording available for people when they missed?
Yes.
So, maybe you can do that if it's that easy. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll talk about it at the HEC meeting.
Yeah. Yes. So in summary, until the course is approved for us to share with all divisions, as of right now, the course is limited to Division 421.
Okay. Peace and blessings. And until next time.
Yes. Any other questions, comments on that?
I don't specifically have any questions or comments. Is everyone aware that Sister Kashton Blake, Lady President of Division 121, has already graduated from this course?
No. So we have another distinguished guest, Lady President of Division 121, Sister Kashton. And as I said, we started this in I started myself to go through this course again in 2021, and I opened it up to other divisions. Sister Kashton was one of the first to sign up to go through the course with us in 2021, and she was one of the first graduates of the course that we provided. So I wish you can join us on HEC, Lady President, to help provide some support for opening this course up for other divisions.
Sure thing. If and however I can, just let me know.
You probably can't, but on the back end, depending on how things come out, I may need your help.
Well, if I could, maybe I will send a specific notification to my president, who is President General.
Yes.
And let him know how important it is for our division members, most especially those officers who have not taken this course, to be able to take this course so that they can officiate themselves as officers of our division. So perhaps I could be influential in that manner. And so I will send a notification to my president immediately.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna be reaching out to yourself, Brother Everett. I spoke with Brother Shaka briefly, Brother Shaka Barak out of Division 429, Secretary General. She took the course last year. She was our highest performing student. She knows very well.
Well, of course.
She knows what this course is, what we present, and the intentions behind it. So I'll be looking for everyone's support, as I go through this HEC meeting, hoping that it's not as bad as I'm thinking. But I don't know. never
If
know.
I could chime in on this.
Well, lady President,
John.
if you could please, because it's 7:55. We've got quite a few people on the call, and everyone hasn't had a chance to speak. So I kind of wanted to go through.
Well, I won't be too Cornelius. I'm just gonna say, I kind of agree to an extent. I mean, I ain't trying to go against my president, John, but at the same time, I can understand it from a national standpoint. When you're teaching history, some scholars have the tendency to cross-reference and to teach other things that that coincide with the lesson. So when you're teaching it, especially you brother John, you cross-reference into different categories and you bring everything, you make it all make sense. So when you're taking different lessons from other people, like, oh, President John didn't say that, or so and so say that. So just for the clarity of everything, it makes sense to teach it on, a more broad level. But I understand that you was like, but I told him I was doing this.
Okay. I mean, I hear you. I'm interested to see what type of questions a person can ask based on going through the reading that is not a part of what we did. I'm very, very confident in my approach to going through this course. Basically going through paragraph by paragraph and pulling out the information that Garvey is trying to communicate. And if someone can pull out more or different information than what I've done, I'm open to seeing that. But I personally don't feel that, and maybe that's, ego or whatever, but I don't think there's anything else that can be brought out. Well, Brother Shaka may have some secret information, but from the text itself, I'm just eager to see how another course is put together.
I mean, I agree. Probably won't be as influential as yours, President John, truly, but from like I say, a national standpoint, I guess this taking for the whole national part of it, that everybody should be on the same page. And I'm pretty sure that President General wants everybody to know about this, ahead of time, so they can take advantage of it.
We could talk about this. I'm not going to do this.
We go, yeah.
This is very near and dear to my heart. I'll put it that way. But I want to let me get through our officers and get to our members. So if everyone please would bear with me. Baba James, head of our African Legion. Baba James, you there?
Race first, family.
Race first. Anything you want to share with the family? Anything you want to give them an update on Promised Land or anything?
Yes. We're having Collard Green Festival this year, October 7th, at the Promised Land in Snellville. We're also having our first Universal African Legion camp out, which will start that Friday, leading on until the event. We have UNI members that signed on to participate. We got Bubba Roth Marvin coming to launch the rockets. We got Brother Kendall Newton with Teach a Child to Fish. We have the Universal African Legion coming out to help secure the event, as well as Brother Kenwardo and his wife to host the entertainment and help us with vending for the event. So we have plenty of room for other UNI members to volunteer and show support. If you'd like, you can go ahead and give me a text at 404-254-9418, and I'll drop my phone number in the text in the chat. Race first.
Race first. Thank you, Baba James, head of our African Legion. So that's one of our next not our event, but one of the next big events in the community that we'll be supporting, Collard Green Festival, October 7th. So not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after that. And executive officers, just a reminder, Next Saturday, we'll be having our executive meeting since we're going to be busy on the first Saturday of October. So the last Saturday of September will serve as our October executive meeting, and we'll kind of finalize the expectations for Collard Green Fest, as well as start to look ahead at other events throughout the year, as well as Lady President has some concepts that she's been putting together for programs for next year. Thank you, Baba James. Any other sisters? Mama Amina, are you there? She gone? She dropped off. Okay, she dropped off. Brother Cornelius, did you have anything you wanted to share? Brother Cornelius? Okay, we'll come back to Cornelius.
I'm here, brother, brother John. I was trying to get my screen back up. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
I didn't want to share a whole lot. Just the fact that with the course, I'm looking forward to taking that as a course, because I bought that book and y'all were talking about different editions. I would have to check and see which edition I do have. But I bought that thing years ago. Blue and white. And I read it. I mean, I bought it. I'm talking like about 40 years ago. I bought that thing a long time ago. And I read it as a book. I didn't look at it as a course.
Yes, sir.
So I would be very, very interested in following it as a course, as opposed to just reading it. And then just the fact that I'd be revisiting it again too, because it's so long ago since I actually read it. Race first.
Race first. Thank you, Brother Cornelius. And I'm glad you put that out there. It's a course. And you know, when I think of the word course, there's two things that come to my mind. One is a path, you know, a golf course, so to speak, but a golf course, you know, 18 holes, being able to go from, you know, hole 1 to hole 18 and being able to overcome the different challenges, but not just on a golf standpoint. If you're trying to go somewhere, it's a course, you know, you're charting a course. And you have to, you know where you're going, know where you're trying to be. And I think that this text embodies that to an extent. And from a Garvey and a UNIA perspective, Garvey has given us a goal and a destination. And this course guides us to help us achieve that goal and that destination. And a course can also be viewed from a eating standpoint, you know, a 4-course meal, 5-course meal. This is a 22-course meal, and it provides a level of sustenance, a level of nutrients, a level of development for us to become what Garvey is saying in the text. You know, he said, I've given them all I know. I want to make everyone a Marcus Garvey personified. So this, you know, in my opinion, not even in my opinion, this is one of the only texts written by Marcus Garvey, written by the hand of Marcus Garvey, compiled specifically in the way that it was compiled by Marcus Garvey. Philosophers and Opinions is Marcus Garvey's words, but it was compiled by his wife. Not to say that he disagrees with anything that she did, but from a holistic perspective, Message to the People is wholly produced by the founder, by Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And I believe he put it together for a specific purpose, as I said, to guide us down the right path, or to give us what it is that we need to be leaders of his great organization. Okay. Brother Clyde. Yeah, love you, Brother Clyde. All right. Other sisters, Sister Diane.
Hi, race first.
Race first, Sister Diane.
I was wondering, aside from Amazon, Where can we obtain message to the people, the correct blue and white one that you showed earlier?
That's a good question. I was getting them at one time.
I shared it in the chat.
You dropped the
Oh, you
link?
did? Okay.
Okay.
It's the actual one that President John was reading from the Google Books.
Is it Amazon?
Oh, she sent you
The
the
Google.
link, the digital version.
Oh, okay.
So what I was
Got it.
reading is what she sent to you.
And the one I actually showed Sister Diane is the one that you would get from Amazon.
Okay.
But like I said, the one that I got from Amazon, I actually have an extra copy too. So if next time you're in the city, if you haven't purchased one, I could give you the one that I have. But the one that I have does not have that foreword in it like President John was reading from.
Okay.
But the link that I sent has it though, like word for word. So if you want to do some cross references from the book, from the foreword that what President John has to the book, that's cool. But I do have the book if you want it.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna work to, and Sister Diane, if you could help me from our education office, if you could help me to get a good source for these texts, a reliable source for these texts. I just looked up, Message to the People, African, and I got African Consciousness Bookstore. This looks like the book. I'm a little bit cautious because they're selling it at a good price, $13.95, and it looks like a hardcover version, and that would be,
better than the soft cover.
Right, that's like a steal, but I think I'd have to like purchase one, make sure it's the right one before we purchase 10 or 15. But I do want to. I would like your help, so that we can get 10 not hard copies, but physical copies of the text as soon as possible before the end of the year.
Okay.
And a reliable source so we can continue to get those texts.
Okay.
All right. Let me keep it moving, get through our officers. Mama Amina. Greetings, Mama Amina.
Greetings.
Did you have anything that you wanted to share with the membership?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Just checking. Just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to share with everyone.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. A couple more officers, then we'll to our members. I know it's 8 after already, so we got to get through this quick. Brother Art, greetings, Brother Art. How you doing? It's a recording secretary.
Greetings, man. I don't have anything to share with you, son.
Nothing today?
Nah.
Okay. Brace first. Still working on those last reports.
Yeah, I'm gonna get them in tomorrow, man.
Okay. Thank you, Brother Art. Thank you, Brother Art. One more officer, I believe, Brother Andrew. Brother Andrew, you there? Okay. All right, Brother Andrew not there. Okay. So that takes care of our officers. I'm gonna go through our members at this point, and I should have said it in the beginning, even though I didn't really follow it. Try to be good listeners and allow our sisters to go first. So I'm gonna call on our sisters. Sister Jocelyn. Greetings, Sister Jocelyn.
Greetings. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Thank you for your patience.
Okay. No problem. Okay, race first, everybody. I'm Jocelyn. I'm a new member of this division. I'm a student here in Atlanta from Spelman College, and I just wanted to introduce myself And I'll put my contact information in the chat if you guys need to reach me.
Jocelyn,
Yeah.
don't put your personal information. Put like a email or a business phone number, but don't put your personal number.
Oh yeah, I can put my Gmail, the Gmail that's in the email.
Yes,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I'm really thankful to be here, and I'm excited to learn more. I did have a question that I know you guys are mentioning the training on Saturday. Is that's only open to members? That wouldn't be open to any students that are not members, right?
That's a good question. Secretary General, I wanna ask you, because I know, and see, this is the thing, like for me, I feel that the certification process for training and orientation comes through the examination. And I felt that having the classes open would be okay, but only certain people could take the examination. But Secretary General, I ask you directly, is the orientation open to ordinary members and non-active members?
Ordinary, no. Not active. Hopefully you're trying to get them to reactivate, and they're non-active. I guess it depends on how long they've been away, because you can be in arrears and we would still consider you active just because you're a little behind.
Well, to make it, I guess, to bring it home, Sister Jocelyn is a new member. And she says she's a college student, and I'm assuming she's talking about sharing the orientation with her friends or her peer group that are not registered members.
Okay, and I appreciate that. And the orientation is for members. However, divisions do study sessions, and those are open to the public. So the study sessions, the mass meetings, they're open to the public. So, bring your friends there. They can learn about the UNIA. But the orientation is the lesson for members.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you. And then, so where would I find the information for those? Or is that on, like, where is that usually shared?
Email.
Yeah, email.
Okay.
As I said, no one in our division outside of our officers has gotten those invitations, and that's on me. But next week will be the third week. I will send it out to all members for that week moving forward.
Okay, sounds good.
Saturday,
and I also wanted.
Saturday, I believe what time are they? 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. They're Saturday evenings though.
It's 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Eastern. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You had another question?
I also wanted, no, I know, not a question. I also wanted to mention, due to the fact that Kamala Harris is coming to Morehouse College on Tuesday, I am planning a student-led rally after her press conference, and I would appreciate anybody who is in Atlanta who lives near Morehouse to come out and support the students. Yeah, that's all. Very grateful for you all. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. What do you know what time that event is supposed to happen?
Not yet, but I can respond to the email for this meeting when I have a flyer, but I don't know the time because I want it to be after her event, which I don't know the time of either. So I'm figuring that out right as we speak.
Okay. Yeah. That'll definitely be a great opportunity for us to engage with the community and also hear what she has to say, what her plans are, what her priorities are. So we definitely appreciate you giving us the heads up, and that's really what this is about. And we've been missing that link of our college students, our AUC members. We've been disconnected to what's going on and the events and things like that. So I'll definitely be looking for you to do exactly what you're doing. Just let us know what's going on, where we need to be, and when we need to be there.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, yes. I'm happy to help with all things HBCU coalition building.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you, Sister Jocelyn.
no problem.
Yes, forgive me, President John. I miss who's the speaker?
Kamala.
Kamala Harris.
Oh, Kamala won't be okay. So Kamala speaking to students at Morehouse, but then after I'm planning a rally with students who are speaking.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if y'all would have access to the Kamala thing because it's a whole thing with Morehouse. If that makes sense, it's like a closed event with Morehouse. But then after I'm planning an event that's open to everybody in the community.
I got you. Yeah. So it's
okay.
A follow up of Kamala speaking. We kind of
right
the
So
fallout.
the rally is in response to her speech. Do we know what the topic is going to be about?
It's like a so-called freedom tour. So Kamala's traveling. I'm gonna send a link of the research. Of her website, Freedom Tour. Kamala Harris. She's talking about a bunch of different issues. She just got back from Hampton University, and she just got back from NCAT, NCAT, North Carolina. So she's just going to different HBCUs talking. It's not like a conversation. It's her on a stage with like a B-list celebrity, and they're just asking her questions. And and Morehouse is on it for Tuesday. But yeah, I'll continue to keep you guys in the loop. Any student events that we have. I'm with a group of students now, of great students from Morehouse Clark, and we're in Morris Brown. We're doing some organizing, so we will have many more events in the future.
Beautiful, beautiful. Anything we can do to help, just let us know. But that's what it's all about. Organizing. Sister Ebony, Lady President.
No, I was just saying race first.
Okay.
That's what's up. Yeah.
All right, more information on that coming soon. Keeping it moving. Let's see any other sisters. I believe Darling. Is that name start with an A first? Sister Darling. iPhone A, are you there? Okay. All right. We'll keep moving. A couple other members. We try to get out of here. Whew, we way after time. K-Dine, is that a brother or sister? K-Dine? K-Dine, Caddine.
President John, I think you pronounced that Kadeen.
Kadeen?
Yeah, is a guest that I invited on from Otis St. Anne's, Jamaica.
Okay, Kadeen, my apologies.
Okay, good night.
Greetings, Sister Kadeen. How you doing?
I'm all right. Just here listening and learn as lot as I can.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Anything going on in Jamaica we need to be aware of here in the States, or with our brothers and sisters down there?
Well, the same old same. I don't hear anything special or anything like that. So the same old same. Yeah. I'll try to keep myself updated. So for the next meeting, I'll give you your updates on it.
Okay. And President Ross, I guess you'll take care of sending her the invitation. I don't think we have email or phone in the database, so but I'll leave that to you.
Yes, President John. And I know she'll be joining soon, so we'll have everything soon.
Okay. Sounds good. We're here whenever you're ready, my sister. But
yes.
Even if you don't, want to go through the official sign up, we're still here.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Race first. Any other sisters that did not get a chance to share from or any of our guests, Lady President, Secretary General, did you have anything that you wanted to share before we move to our brothers? Last call on the sisters.
Thank you much. You brothers are doing a great job. So we're just listening.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let me get to our brothers. First brother, I remember being on the call, Dr. Roots. Oh, no. So, hold on, Dr. Roots. 1 second. Dr. Shams. He's always one of our first members, been holding on for a very long time. Dr. Shams, greetings.
Race first.
Race first.
Yes. We were speaking about Africa earlier, and I've been following what's been going on over there in the news, plus what's going on over here. Over here, they trying to send us back to slavery. Over there, they want to wipe everybody out so they can have all the resources. But I always did say that, we should unite. And they feel over there like I feel over here, that unity is the answer. Haile Selassie, the Emperor of Ethiopia, peace be with him, he said the same thing. He said, well, history brings about unity, and unity is actually African brotherhood, So on my website, I have not so much the UN, because they say in the news reports that I have seen and been over, that the UN is not working for our people in the diaspora or here in the so-called states either. The UN is just not working, and it's a Caucasian entity, so we should do other things. Now, the second thing I have on my site that's sort of like that is called the Unification of Member Nations. That's third world nations. And if we follow the news close enough, it might take a little bit of research to really see which ones they are, but some of us might already know which third world countries we should reach out to help our brothers and sisters in the continent of Africa. So the Unification of Member Nations is a link that I created to help bring that about. I knew that the United Nations would fail us at some time because it's one-sided, and they had one of the leaders down there speak about, how the UN is not fair, how it favors one nation, as far as ruling, conducting everything, and that should not be. So I just leave my website and my phone number, and that'll be all. My website is Not Helpful USA Legislations. Not Helpful USA Legislations People.bravesites.com. That's Not Helpful USA Legislations People.bravesites.com. And if you want to call me, you want to participate in anything on my site, you need my help, you could freely go there. I mean, I had nothing against nobody sharing the information I have on there. I have all shared information from like YouTube and things like that, research from Google, that's open in the public domain. So therefore, anybody can go freely to the site. I'll say it one more time and give my phone number. That's Not Helpful USA Legislations People.bravesites.com. My phone number where I can be reached, my cell phone, is 1917-500-1699. That's 1917-500-1699. My landline, which sometimes works a little bit better than my cell phone, is 1718-373-2680. That's 1718-373-2680. Peace and race first.
Race first. Thank you, Dr. Shams, longtime supporter and active member of the UNIA, active dues paying member. Let's see. All right, we'll keep it going through our brothers. Next brother, Dr. Roots. Greetings, Dr. Roots.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I have a lot of information to share. I don't think we have sufficient time, so I will email the information. And if everyone is about the African Renaissance Festival that's going to come up next month, it's a very huge event, and I will share information with the body, and that will be discussed at a different forum. But it's a very, very, very massive event with African kings coming into the country, and an opportunity to recognize our brothers who've been upholding our tradition, African culture, meaning that we believe as Africans, our struggle is being hijacked by, I keep saying it, the LGBTQ struggle. And so we bring our kings from Africa to recognize our brothers in the entertainment and in politics who have been both white, black, who have been protecting our traditional family values, so to honor them with their distinguished African awards. So it's a very, very massive event. I will share the information. We've been planning for the past year or so. I would like to talk to Dr. Chan. We both live in New York City, and we're a partnership. We love to partnership with every organization. What we're doing, I consider ARF as the consummation of the work of UNIA, because we are fighting for the liberation of Africa. In Africa, we are a movement. We are fighting against imperialism, but at the same time promoting U.S. strategic interests. However, trying to making sure that these politicians don't push this LGBT agenda down our throat in Africa. That's what we're fighting against.
Dr. Roots, you said next month. What date? You know what day that is? Next month.
There's a massive event. I will email you the entire information after the meeting. It's a massive event with a lot of for a whole almost 2 weeks of activities. So I don't want to give you wrong information. I will email you the information.
Okay, I may want during our mass meeting. Hopefully, it's after second Sunday of next month, so you can give another update.
23rd of October is going to start October 23rd to November 3rd.
Okay, yeah. So we have another mass meeting. Let me see what day we got it. Our next mass meeting will be October 8th. So if you can provide join us October 8th. I'll leave some space in the agenda, and hopefully you can give us another update to make sure we're aware of the latest.
Yeah, you'll have the website. You will have I will email you tonight. If I have the email. Now, do I email to you directly to distribute to the listserv? How do you want me to transmit this information? I have the information.
Send it to me directly.
Okay, so may I have your email?
Yes, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. Where the chat?
And while I'm doing that, let's go. Let me get to our next brother so we can close out soon. Brother Freeme, you there? Greetings, Brother Freeme. Where's my chat? Brother Freeme, you there?
Yes, sir.
Greetings.
Thanks for having me, John. Greetings. Grace first, family.
Long time no see. How you been?
Oh man, I've been out here in this field, man. Trying to be an active participant in the UNIA-ACL family.
Yes, sir.
So excuse my absence for being inactive in the meetings, but I've been in these streets for real.
Already know.
Thank you, sir. So I'm gonna try my best to be into the group so I can learn more about the person who got me on this mission. I need to know more about Marcus Garvey and what my job is. I think we all need to know. But I'm not gonna hold up no more time. Race first, family. Stay strong.
Race first. Thank you, Brother Freeme. All right. 8:30. Not sure was anyone that did not get a chance to share? Attorney Emotep, I think I skipped over you, and Sister Aziza, I know I skipped over her.
I have brother Nature with me here and on the call. He'd like to say a couple words.
Brother Nature. Come on, get him on
Yeah,
here.
how
We
you
always
doing?
welcome.
Blessed prayers. What go on?
Greetings, Brother Nature. How you doing?
All right. Still holding it up on this end, you know.
Yes, sir.
Woo, trials and tribulations, but we still shine through, you know.
Yes, sir. What you got going on? Anything we can collaborate on? You gonna be at? You gonna be at?
On that, on that style, you know, me and you normally talk with, just on that style. So I'll probably just be in direct contact with you, let you know.
All right. All right. You just let me
Yeah,
know.
still holding the legitimacy of the government, you know what I'm saying, presidency and everything on this side. I'm still talking about UNIA stocks and bonds and things, and just the full actual legitimacy that a lot of people don't want to grab and recognize.
Yes,
How
sir.
serious it is really real,
Yes,
all
sir.
the way from Garvey to Holy Pibby and those who truly follow the way, no, this ain't disability. You know what I'm saying? This is strength.
Yes,
This
sir.
is the first indication. Even the books that were stolen. So we're all Rastafari. Man, anyway, hail up prayers, man. And man, it's always good to hit, man, to caught up on a meeting. Anyway, we will be in contact.
Yes, sir. All right. Good
Yeah,
to hear from you,
Rastafari.
brother.
Good to hear from you too.
Race first.
Rastafari. One God, one name, one destiny.
Yes, sir. Was anyone that did not get a chance to share or would like to have a few comments in closing? And Attorney Emotep, I think I did miss you. If you would like to share, as well as your wife.
Yes, greetings, President John. Just a couple of things. The orientation, I would encourage all our members, and especially the new members, to take the orientation class. That's very important. And I'm looking forward to the leadership class starting Tuesday. And what time is that? Will that start?
It'll be Tuesday, 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m.
8 to 9.
It'll be a night course.
Okay, sounds good. And the Constitution reading, I need to get with you with a date that we're going to begin those study sessions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And as we said, and Secretary General, I'm glad you're here. We did plan to open up our Constitution study group to other divisions as well. It's not like I said, Secretary General, you know me to an extent at this point. The things that we're doing, we're not trying to do it out of a sense of arrogance or a sense of control or a sense of necessarily ownership. This is not our, as the Course of African Philosophy teaches us, private ownership is frowned upon, and the one God, one aim, one destiny, as Brother Nature said. So everything that we do has to be for the benefit of the collective. I've been speaking with Counsel General for a little bit of time now, a couple months at least, about going through a Constitution study course. In the Constitution, it says that there's a section called Education that lays out a responsibility for presidents to go over the Constitution at least once every 3 months or something like that. But at any rate, the importance of the Constitution, the level of detail of the Constitution, the ease of the ease of being confused by trying to go through the Constitution on your own. I've asked Counsel General to provide a study course so that we can go through that. But also, I wanted to open that up to other divisions as well. Not to say, we are the legitimate certifiers of those who know the Constitution and those who don't. But just like we've done with other lessons, like the 54 Declarations of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World, when certain divisions will go through that, they'll open it up for other divisions to participate as well. So just be on the lookout for that. My counsel general is doing a great job, and I'm going to continue to push him and inspire him to give us that level of understanding that we need, so that we're all functioning in accordance with our Constitution. So just be on the lookout for that, and thank you in advance, Counsel General Attorney Imhotep, for that. Was Sister Aziza, did she have anything that she wanted to share?
No, she didn't.
Okay. There's this hand down here. Raise hand 1. Was anyone else? It is 36 after 8. We are way over time. Anyone have any brief closing comments?
Raise first.
Raise first, Dr. Shams.
Yes, I have flyers that I made up recently with a little few ideas from good brother Art there. And I believe it's very good for recruitment, bringing in new members. And don't forget the indigenous and international sovereign laws that I have there, and international human rights laws. I have very little of the U.S. laws because I know that the Caucasians are not going to follow that exactly, but they want us to, So I have international and indigenous human rights laws, indigenous sovereignty laws as well. Peace and race first.
Where do you have? Is this all on your website? As far
it's on the website. It's labeled at the top. It has a title and everything. Should be very easy to find. If not, call me.
All right. Well, we'll talk, because you mentioned flyers. The flyers on your website.
Yes, I will email it to you.
You don't need a card.
Sorry,
Baba James, you are coming off mute.
Okay. Brother John.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you were saying?
No, I was just you mentioned the flyer, and I was just trying to figure out where we can access the flyer. But if it's on your website, me and you can talk, and I'll let you guide me to get that information.
Well, I'll email it to you. That's what I'll do.
Thank you,
Peace
Dr.
and race first. Yes, thank you very much. Peace and race first.
Thank you, brother. All right, we 8:38. I think we got through everyone. Was there anyone that did not get a chance to share? Anyone that did not get a chance to share? Okay. Get ready to close out. As always, y'all know I like to share our preamble any time that I can. So I'm going to include this in tonight's closing. Preamble of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro peoples of the world. And the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man, but with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of men shall be called blessed. With that, Baba James, would you please close us out officially?
Family, please raise your hand, your right fist in the air, and repeat after me. One God.
One God.
One aim,
One aim,
one destiny.
one
Destiny.
destiny.
Africa
Africa
for the Africans,
for the Africans,
those at home
those at home,
and those abroad.
and those abroad.
Grace first.
Grace first.
Go in peace. Have a blessed week.
Right on.
Peace and one love. Thank you.
Next mass meeting, October 8th. Next executive meeting is this Saturday, September 30th. So, race first, family.
Race first.